Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're listening and when you're listening. Thank you for listening. We're your young guns. I'm Boris, and as always, I'm joined by the one, the only, Matt.
Thank you for that warm welcome, Boris. It's a top 94 list. Your favorite, the gimmick that draws so well. Thank you if you listen to part one, and hopefully you'll have some fun listening to part two. We're not going to dilly-dally too much in this intro because there's a lot of dilly-dallying to get to, my friend.
A lot of dilly-dallying and a lot of diddling, more daddling.
There will be no diddling, some daddling, a little babbling, such as the intro.
You know, this episode, as Matt mentioned, is the top 94, but there's going to be a couple interviews in the middle. One interview is with the host of Work Rate Podcast, Mike Fenn, and the second interview is going to be with Zane66 from Dark Side of the Elite. Good, fun chats. Matt, I think we're just going to jump right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into it.
Pitter patter.
Let's do this. Moving on. Match number 94. Another example of good storytelling in a Crazy Ken Shamrock match. Crazy Ken Shamrock versus The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, WWF Intercontinental title, Royal Rumble 1998. Ken Shamrock, you see he gets angry, and then you better watch out because he'll beat you up real good. That's what he'll do.
Yeah.
That's his gimmick. That's
and don't sleep with his sister.
Or talk to her, or be in the same room as her, because you're gonna get fucked up. Yeah, this was classic babyface version of insane Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
And as a babyface or heel, this character really worked. He was very, very entertaining. I liked.
And this is when The Rock was really playing the role of, hey, I'm second fiddle in the Nation of Domination to Farouk's eyes, but everyone knows that I'm the actual leader.
Exactly. I'm the boss. I'm the big dog in this yard. Big dog. Yes. Match number 93. The Big Show versus Brock Lesnar. Winner gains entry to the Royal Rumble. The kickoff match to Royal Rumble 2003. Not pre-show, but the opener. Yep. I like Brock Lesnar and Big Show. More on this later. I possibly am the only one who rated Brock Lesnar Big Show match as highly as I did. I think this is a good combo, and young baby Brock Lesnar throwing this guy around is a treat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually think their Survivor Series match in 2002 was better, but this is a good little match.
I remember that match better than this one.
Yeah. It was like a fast forwarded version of that match. Basically, yeah. This one was match number 92, Cruiserweight Open from Royal Rumble 2006. This is Funaki versus Gregory Helms versus Jamie Noble versus Kid Cash versus Nunzio versus Paul London. God, I miss Paul London. Whatever happened to him? He was in Lucha for a bit, Lucha Underground.
Who knows?
Oh man, I hope he comes back. I want to see him in AEW. I hope he can still wrestle.
Kid Cash is someone I miss.
Kid Cash was really good too. Look at this. Let me read these 6 names again. Paul London, awesome. Kid Cash, awesome. Jamie Noble, we've already said, awesome. Nunzio, Little Guido, great wrestler.
Yep.
Awesome. Gregory Helms, the Hurricane.
Sugar Shane,
baby. The worst wrestler in this match, who's also very good, is probably Funaki.
Best commentator, though.
Best commentator by far who's ever lived. Excuse me. But yeah, this was a fun little Cruiserweight Open. Fell into the Cruiserweight WWE trap of not having any time.
Yep.
Finish comes out of nowhere. Could have gone 15 minutes longer, 10 at least. But good little enjoyable wrestling package. Speaking of, match number 91. The artist formerly known as Goldust, accompanied by Luna Vachon, versus Vader, Royal Rumble 1998.
Yeah, this is S&M Goldust.
S&M Goldust, Forever Unchained Goldust.
Yep.
But you know what? I love this match. This is a little hard-hitting, little brutal affair. Vader wins clean with a gross Vader bomb. Fun opener to a good little Royal Rumble 1998 show.
This was the culmination of their feud, because I remember at the Raw, the infamous Raw, where there was the finger poke of doom for the European belt. This is when S&M Goldust was out telling a Christmas story.
Oh God, yeah.
And then Vader comes, but he's Santa.
Vader Claus!
Yeah.
It's time.
That's the
It's time.
Raw
Yeah.
we have to review.
Yes, yeah. The delayed Christmas show, which will happen at some point. Hopefully before next Christmas. Anyway, yeah, so that was 91. Match number 90. Here's a hidden gem for you. The Barbarian versus Big Boss Man Royal Rumble 1991. Hook this match to my veins. I love the Barbarian. I think he's tremendously underrated. They do two finisher. They do a finisher kick out in this match. A rare mid-card 1991 finisher kick out. The Big Boss Man takes the Barbarian's top rope clothesline. Nobody fucking kicks out of
Who
that
booked
move.
this? Tony Khan?
Yeah, right? Are you serious? Cody Rhodes, what are you doing? He's 6. Yeah, but no, yeah. Big Boss Man kicks out of the Barbarian's finish. Big Boss Man wins clean. He's put over. Barbarian fucks off to a different territory. It's pro wrestling the way it should be, Boris. Yep. Awesome hard-hitting match between two bulls. Speaking of two bulls, match number 89. Big Show versus Mark Henry versus Daniel Bryan in a steel cage. World Heavyweight title, Royal Rumble 2012. It's Daniel Bryan sprinting away from these monsters for, 15 minutes. But goddamn if it's not a great time. Also of note, they had the weird, annoying red cage in this match. Why did they ever introduce that? And thank God that it went away. Did it go away? Is the cage still red?
It depends what brand.
Oh, God. Ugh. I never want to see a Raw cage match again. Match number 88. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. Royal Rumble 2016. Do you remember the days when Ric Flair interfered on behalf of Charlotte?
Yes.
Those were fun.
Those were fun.
Moving on. Match number 87. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton for the WWE title. Royal Rumble 2008. Now, this was a really cool little feud. It elevated Jeff Hardy, but the problem is it didn't elevate him enough. Yep. It's like he needed to win a couple matches. He needed to win the title here. He got it eventually. But this was the time almost. And this was an example of them booking a WWE title match with somebody that they had absolutely no intention of letting the title.
How often does this happen? And it's not to say that it's not a bad thing, but I just feel like when we get a guy who doesn't deserve the title, it's kind of like to the point where the match just suffers.
Yeah,
right?
It definitely suffers. All right, match number 86. John Cena versus Randy Orton for the WWE World Heavyweight title. This was the unified big gold belt and old school WWF title.
Was this like the 369th time that they face each other?
Yes, 364th to be precise.
All right.
I don't know. Royal Rumble 2014, the crowd fucking hated this thing. They turned on it badly. I thought it was a better match than they acted. Both guys worked really hard. They tried to have a world title match. The crowd was having none of it, but they begrudgingly got into it at the end. It's very entertaining. It's worth watching once just to see the crowd kind of turn on it. But I thought the crowd was kind of being smarky here. I thought they gave it too much hate.
14-16, the crowds just hated everything.
Yeah, they were really having none of it. Match number 85. This is one that is buoyed by the storyline and the promo before and after. Bret Hart and Owen Hart versus the Quebecers. WWF Tag Team title, Royal Rumble 94. You want to take this one for a second?
See, this match hurts me because my brother was the biggest Quebecers fan. Like the biggest.
I thought you were going to say Bret Hart.
No, the biggest Quebec and Bret Hart. The biggest Quebecers fan.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, it's all about the Hearts. The Hearts. Owen's going to win it because he's the best Hart, blah, blah, blah. You know, he really invented the sharpshooter.
Oh, that's so
but yeah, I was so heartbroken when the injury angle, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you don't recall the story of this match, Bret Hart goes the entire way. He doesn't tag in Owen, but he's very beat up. His knee is banged up, and he can't quite do it. And eventually, this match actually ends via ref stoppage, and the Quebecers are awarded the WWF Tag Team titles. I guess they were the champions coming in. But yeah, this is the famous post-match promo where Owen Hart turns on Bret, kicks him, and then cuts the famous interview where he kicks his leg out from under his leg.
Yep.
And says the word leg about 6 times in 15 seconds. But yeah, good storyline, good match. Not a ton in the ring because it's basically just Bret Hart selling and getting beaten down. But you know what? Still good. Match number 84. We're going with the 2019 Women's Royal Rumble match, the second Women's Royal Rumble from Chase Field in Arizona. This is the one won by Becky Lynch, which is, Can you, off the top of your head, can you name me another moment from that match right now? Go.
Becky Lynch not being in the Rumble and taking someone's spot.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Now, can you name me another one? Yeah, that's the problem. So this was a really good match when you watch it back. It was very entertaining, but it didn't really stick with you the way that some Royal Rumbles did. One example of that, Boris, and the last match in our tier of 3 out of 5, the Royal Rumble 1997 from the Alamo Dome. It'll stick with you. It's the one where Stone Cold's looking at his watch over and over. The one where he gets eliminated, but the referees don't see it. He sneaks back in and beats Bret Hart and starts his slow climb to the main event where he fucking belonged. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Which sets up Final 4 in your house
Yes.
in February, which sets up a cage match after that.
Yes.
And I love that Raw when it was the cage match with Bret Hart and all of them, because the match was going to start the show. And I forget the details. But someone gets attacked, match doesn't happen. Middle of the show, someone gets attacked, match doesn't happen. Then it finally happens in the main event. And this is like, that's the storytelling I love in one night, right? Like one continuous spot. You know, I'm going to play Fantasy Booker right now with you.
Yes, do it.
This is the thing. I would love to see a Raw or a SmackDown. Raw, because it's 3 hours, where you announce a ladder match, for the title.
Yeah.
And it kicks off the show. Get the big ratings to start the show. Something happens, ladder breaks, or something happens. The match has to happen. You then continue the match in the middle. You then continue, throughout the entire night, because the match doesn't end till they get the ladder.
It's too bad that the 24/7 title is such a waste of everyone's time. But they can do that with a Falls Count Anywhere match or a hardcore match. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, so that was the last match, 1997 Royal Rumble in the 3 out of 5 tier. We are now moving on to the next tier. These are 3.5 elimination out of 5 matches. These are 70%. This is now a B by the Canadian grading system, and these are officially good wrestling matches. Matches that I would tell you are good. To your face, I would. Match number 82, the 1989 Royal Rumble from Houston, Texas. Gorilla and Jesse. It's the first time they ever did a tag team entering at 1 and 2. It's the second Royal Rumble, so they didn't wait very long to bust that gimmick out. But the stars in this match are wild. This is arguably the most star-studded field in Royal Rumble history if you go back and look. Bret Hart, Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, all these guys. Yeah, just a really good, fun 1980s in a nutshell kind of match. Moving on, 81. 20 years later, we're going to the 2009 Royal Rumble match from the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, Michigan. This was the first one that Randy Orton won. I like the Randy Orton and Legacy working together in this. It's very fun Royal Rumble, brought down by the fact that the roster was dog shit in 2009. Match number 80. Continuing the string of Royal Rumbles. Royal Rumble 2000 from MSG. This is the one that the Big Show actually won, but The Rock technically won.
Yeah. Or
maybe it's the other way around. But you feel me. The Rock's name is in the record books, but Big Show won this one. And there's a really funny promo down the road where The Rock talks about how his life blossomed from this moment, and if only the Big Show would have won, it could have been him in The Mummy Returns and all that stuff. That was one of the classic New Rock promos. But yeah, a fun match. Possibly the most memorable thing is Kai and Tai and the Mean Street Posse continuously running in and Taka Michinoku almost fucking dying on one of his eliminations.
I remember this.
Oh, it was disgusting. He does a full front flip over the top and lands face the fuck first on the mat.
It was everywhere on Instagram on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love seeing it. Not,
Yeah. I feel you. Match number 79, the 2013 Royal Rumble from the U.S. Airways Center in Phoenix, Arizona, right before the crowd started turning on it. This was the last Royal Rumble that was pure until 2017-18.
Well, this Royal Rumble is famous for something. Not the match, but the backstage stuff, right? This is when shit went to hell for certain people.
What people?
Is this CM Punk's
No, sorry, I think that's 2014. Yes.
That
was, I believe, 14 was Punk's, yes.
Batista.
Yes.
And I feel like I make this mistake every time we talk.
It's tough to keep track. Every fucking day blends together. It's a goddamn pandemic. Here we go. Maybe I overrated this. I heard a lot of people say it was bad. I like this match a lot. We're going number 78, the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble from the Thunderdome. Bianca Belair is made a star overnight. She's no longer a future star. She now is a star. It's because of this match. It's because of the promo she cut afterwards. I actually liked the commentary job by Jerry the King, Byron, and Tom Phillips. I thought this was a good match.
Yep. This is a great match. This match, you know, I don't want to compare it to the men's because we're taking a look at just this match, but this match had everything. It had surprises. It had legends. Somebody messaged me in the middle of the match and said, why do they bring back legends, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, they choose to because it's the Royal Rumble, you know, and when you think about it, like a lot of these women that they do bring back never had the chance to compete in a Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's really cool to see them. And some of them, they've been back a couple times. And some of the NXT people, they've been in there. That's just because the roster is, the talent pool is just a little shallow.
But this year, you know, we're 2021. We got Victoria.
Yeah.
Which is one of those never say never things, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think she looked great. She could probably come back now. Keeping this thing going. Match number 77. We referenced it before. The Hitman Bret Hart versus Razor Ramon for the WWF World Title. Royal Rumble 1993. It's a little bit of a slower paced match, but both of these guys are so talented. It kept my attention throughout. I didn't look at my phone, you know. The typical test of if a wrestling match is good in 2021. Do you look at your phone the whole time? But no, I really quite enjoyed this one. Bret Hart, I could watch that man sell in a phone booth or something. That didn't make quite any sense.
Read a phone book.
Yeah, in a phone booth. Backwards. Uphill both ways. Anyway, match number 76. Razor Ramon versus Jeff Jarrett for the Intercontinental title. Royal Rumble 1995. Great selling job by Razor here on working the knee. I thought the finish was anticlimactic in this match because Jeff Jarrett just kind of pins him after a chop block. I believe it's it's kind of nothing.
It's the most 1995 finish. This is the same year that Diesel elbowed Mabel for the win at In Your House 1.
Oh my God. To be fair, there was no chance he was giving him a jackknife, even if Mabel stood on the top rope and jumped backwards. But yeah, Jeff Jarrett was a really good wrestler. Razor Ramon, obviously really good wrestler. Very Southern style, Memphis style wrestling match. All right, number 75, continuing with Razor Ramon, this time versus Goldust for the Intercontinental title, Royal Rumble 1996. The Goldust versus Razor Ramon feud really stuck with a lot of people. That's a very memorable feud. I don't know if they ever quite got to a proper blow off with it because Goldust just transitioned into the Roddy Piper thing once it became clear that Razor Ramon was going to WCW. But this was a good match, and they had incredible chemistry, these two guys. They produced entertaining television every time that they were together. Match number 74, Sheamus versus Shorty G, the Royal Rumble 2020 pre-show. Hard-hitting match between two good wrestlers. Shorty G is one of the worst gimmicks that have ever been given out to anybody.
Yep.
Match number 73, Alberto Del Rio versus Kalisto, United States title, Royal Rumble 2016. I used to love Alberto Del Rio. I was dating a girl when he started, and he was our guy. It was each other's ringtone on our phone. It was really cute. It sucks that he's such a monumental piece of shit, and he should never be brought back or celebrated at all. Fuck Alberto Del Rio, but this was a good wrestling match. Match number 72, Batallon, El Torito, and Tarantula versus your boy, Max Mini, that's my boy, Mosaic and Nova, Royal Rumble 1998. Sonny as special referee, I believe I forget to note here. This was good. Very good. Max Mini was a ton of fun. It's too bad that there's really no way that Vince McMahon would ever treat a mini wrestler with any kind of sincerity or respect. But even then, he still produced good things in the wrestling ring. Moving on, match number 71, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd versus The New Day, Big E and Kofi Kingston from the Royal Rumble 2015 pre-show. The New Day got jobbed a couple times in terms of placement on the card. They had some pre-show matches that did not ever deserve to be pre-show matches. They were always really, really good. Big E and Kofi Kingston, good tag team. I like the New Day more when Xavier's in the tag team because he's awesome at putting matches together, it seems. Every time there's a match with Xavier Woods in it, there's awesome moves that you've never seen before in that match.
Yep.
What a coincidence. It must be that he's fucking a genius. Perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, good little match here. Match number 70, also from a pre-show, Royal Rumble 2019, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Rusev. I love both guys. It's really kind of too bad what's happening in AEW to Rusev. I don't think anybody is enjoying Miro, except for Miro.
Yeah, because that's the character he wants to play.
Yeah, but does anyone else on Earth want to see him play that character? I don't know. But yeah, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Rusev. Good match on paper. Good match in practice. Nothing that would blow your socks off. But above average pre-show match. It was watchable. It was good. Match number 69. Here's another deep cut for you. A hidden gem, Boris. Beth Phoenix versus Melina. WWE Women's Title, Royal Rumble 2009. Do you have any memory of this match?
Yes, I do, actually.
Oh, please.
And the only reason is because I watched it recently.
Ah, nice.
Ish.
Yeah, this match was awesome. Melina sells her ass off, and she's bendy like Gumby. So there's a spot in particular where Beth Phoenix has her in like a back bridge and scorpions her own leg to touch her head. I can't even do it justice. I can't nearly do it justice. I'm sure you've maybe seen the GIF before. But yeah, the ladies worked really hard here. One of the better women's matches before Stephanie McMahon invented and perfected women's wrestling.
Damn right. Melina is such an underrated performer.
Yes. Yeah, she's not Sasha Banks in the ring, but she's a great performer. She knows her character. She gets it across, be it a babyface or heel. She knows how to be both of them in an entertaining way. She was athletic. Yeah, she was good. I like Melina. Match number 68. The rematch. Asuka versus Becky Lynch 2. Raw Women's Title, Royal Rumble 2020. This was the match that Becky Lynch needed revenge. She'd beaten everyone on the roster, but there was one notch on her belt that she couldn't quite get. It was Asuka. This was the rematch from the year previous. They had an awesome match. It didn't quite live up to the previous match, but awesome finish. Amazing finish.
Literally going to say, a lot of people say the previous match is better. I'm one of those people, but talk about the finish.
So Asuka's getting ready. She's going nuts on Becky Lynch. She's gearing up for the big spot, and Becky throws a spin kick to Asuka's gut, which causes Asuka to spew green mist high up into the air like a waterfall. Green mist coming down on her as Becky Lynch gets the victory. Yep. Great little fucking spot. Love that. Highlight of the match for sure. And it's good when the finish of the match is the thing that you take away from it.
I love the fact. Let's take a look at this. 2019?
2020 this was.
Yeah,
yes,
but
so
2019,
yes.
Becky Lynch and Asuka fought.
Yeah.
2020, Becky Lynch and Asuka fought.
Yeah.
2020, Asuka's the champ. But yet, people still say that Asuka is being buried.
No, that's true, yeah. Well, these last couple weeks haven't been good.
Yeah, you're right.
I didn't watch Raw last night, but I believe the term black goop came up a lot. I don't know. I guess that was Randy Orton and not Asuka. But anyway, it's just rough anytime you're nearly involved with The Fiend or, at this point, Alexa Bliss. But that was match number 68. Match number 67. For the World Heavyweight title at Royal Rumble 2010, Rey Mysterio versus The Undertaker. Interesting match on paper. They didn't quite click, but it was still good. It was still fun. I'm glad we saw it once.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio must have been too busy with his video games.
Yeah, he's just... If only he got shittered with the fucking boys, Ferda. If only he got absolutely fucking shittered, Ferda.
Right there, Letterkenny.
Don't you tell me how to live my life. Match number 66. Triple H versus Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight title, Royal Rumble 2005. Boris, remember what this was? Yet another concussion match.
Yeah.
Concussion storylines. Triple H versus Randy Orton, both very good. It was a world title match. They got a long time. You can't hate on it too much, but goddamn, even then, I didn't need to ever see another concussion storyline. Like, it was basically like they didn't want to ever beat Triple H for any reason, and they didn't want to bury Randy Orton, so they had to come up with an idea for him to lose, and this is what they came up with.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's keep going.
Concussions. Number 65, The New Day, Big E and Kofi Kingston versus the Usos, Jimmy and Jay. They had a million matches. Many were better. They had fucking Hell in a Cell matches, which were fabulous.
Ooh, yeah.
Fabulous match. Classic match is their Hell in a Cell match. This wasn't that, but it was still very good. Number 64. Here's one I didn't remember until I watched it back. AJ Styles in a handicap match versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the WWE title.
I unfortunately remember this. And when you look at the three guys involved, it's like you would expect something just classic. Yeah. And I'm not saying that, like, you know, it's rated fairly high on your list, but you're thinking top 15, right?
No, absolutely. You look at those three guys, it has a chance. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, and I did like the storytelling throughout this match, but there was a lot of stalling, a fair bit of bullshit, and it was a handicap match that was centered around a storyline that would eventually lead to the return of Daniel Bryan. So, hey, it worked out.
Yep.
Match number 63, Ronda Rousey versus Sasha Banks. Royal Rumble 2019 for the Raw Women's title. Two good wrestlers. I really liked Ronda Rousey in the ring. This was when the crowd was starting to kind of turn on her a little bit.
Yeah, she was good for what she was, right? Like, she was good at what she did. They didn't really take her out of her element in terms of her ability. They knew what her scope was, and they stayed within the scope. And you know what? There's something to be said about hiding what people's faults are.
Yeah. That's the point of the wrestling business. Hey, man, it's fake. You can do that. You may as well. That's the whole point of it, right?
But I don't understand why they don't do this more often. Why do they allow, you know, person X to talk when they can't talk? Yeah. Why do they allow person Y to have a technical match when they can't?
Absolutely. Half the shit that Lana's doing, all the shit that Matt Riddle's done on his entire WWE run, just like not only putting people in positions not in their best positions, but actively putting them in their worst possible gimmicks and positions just to watch them languish and fail. Very sad, makes no sense. Moving on. Match number 62, a recent addition. Drew McIntyre versus Goldberg, WWE title, Royal Rumble 2021. So we've seen this exact match before. We've seen it better, but it was still pretty good. I thought it was exactly what it needed to be. I thought Drew McIntyre looked good. Goldberg looked like a threat in defeat. He didn't look like some shitty old man. It didn't seem like it wasn't an accomplishment. I thought it was very entertaining throughout. Again, we've seen the formula before, but I liked it. Paid
That's
by
the
the numbers.
I thoroughly enjoyed this match, and I gotta say, like, you know, as a person who wants Goldberg nowhere near that title, every time that Goldberg got a pin, it was close. Like, here's the thing about WWE that I'm noticing. They're starting to become a little more self-aware of the hate they get.
I think so, yeah.
So, because of that, I'm noticing that they're doing certain things that kind of play on our biggest fears. Goldberg winning the belt.
Absolutely.
The Fiend and Alexa Bliss at Royal Rumble.
Yeah, with Alexa
the magic.
Bliss. Yeah.
You know? Like, and notice they teased the Alexa thing, but Rhea Ripley knocked her the fuck out of the match right away. So, I feel like they're becoming a little more self-aware of themselves.
I think so, and it's good. And part of that maybe is that Vince wasn't there at the Royal Rumble, and they were kind of just taking advantage of it.
We were talking and joking about this because the first thing I noticed, you know what? When we bring up the men's Rumble, we'll talk about this.
Very good. Speak of one of the devils, not Vince McMahon, but another devil. Match number 61, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan in a strap match from last year's Royal Rumble 2020.
I cringe. Just think about it. It brings me back to my childhood. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad.
Oh, yeah. No, but yeah, that's hilarious. But, thankfully, I didn't get many beltings in my day. I did have a Windex bottle or two thrown in my general vicinity, but that was mostly my fault. But yeah, no, I feel you on that one. Yeah, but lots of country whippings going on in this match. But bad ending, bad finish, good match throughout. Daniel Bryan worked really hard in this program. He tried his hardest to make something watchable out of this Fiend business.
Here's the question I have for you.
Yes.
Is Bray Wyatt a good wrestler?
I think so. I like Bray Wyatt a lot. Now, I think he could probably tone it down. He's probably involved in a lot of the dumber stuff. Like the temptation to go, well, it's not his fault. He's not writing the show, but I'm sure he has a lot of input. And I'm sure a lot of his ideas have led to bad presentations of pro wrestling. But I like him in the ring. I think he's a talented guy. I think he cuts generally good promos when he's got a focused goal in mind. Yeah. I think he's a good performer. I like Bray Wyatt.
All right. Let's move.
Number 60 and number 59, very similar. We'll go through them quick. Number 60, 1-2-3 Kid and Thurman Sparky Plug versus the $1 Million Corporation, Bam Bam Bigelow and Tatanka. for the tag team titles at Royal Rumble 95. And number 59, Kurt Angle versus Taz at the Royal Rumble 2000. Why are these matches similar? Because they're matches that are buoyed by the storyline completely. It's not really a whole ton in the ring, but the storyline is so memorable. So quickly, the tag team title match, that's the Lawrence Taylor Bam Bam Bigelow match. And though the finish to this match is fucking all-time garbage, Bam Bam Bigelow falls off the top rope and lays there for 5 minutes almost. It makes no sense why I would beat him, and then he would just stand up as soon as the pin's over.
Bronson Reed would get up.
He's colossal. Bam Bam Bigelow is far less colossal. Anyway, no, he's pretty much as colossal. But yeah, so after this tag team match, Bam Bam Bigelow gets in Lawrence Taylor's face. All-time memorable, one of the great moments of the 90s in wrestling, setting up a mediocre WrestleMania match between LT and Bam Bam Bigelow.
But it sets up Mongo McMichael showing up on WWE TV. So...
setting up Mongo becoming a wrestler in fucking WCW. And of course,
giving us Mongo Mondays.
Yes, and Mongo and Friends on Twitter.
Yeah.
One of the great gimmicks. And much like the previous match, Kurt Angle versus Taz was made better by the storyline, which was Kurt Angle was undefeated. He was challenging everybody. He was getting very cocky. He didn't give a shit about any of this. Whoever's in the back can come out. And who's going to come out but the debuting Taz in New York City? Someone who can match Kurt Angle, suplex for suplex, hold for hold, and he chokes this fucking bitch out in MSG in 5 minutes.
It's amazing how they dropped the ball on him. Having said that, yes, WWE dropped the ball on Taz, but Taz has had a string of bad luck with his neck and injuries in general.
Yeah, there was a triceps injury too, I believe. Yeah, Taz got fucked over on injuries, and yeah, they had no idea how to use him at all.
Yeah.
All right, so that was 60 and 59. Moving on, number 58, Bayley versus Charlotte for the Raw Women's title from the Alamo Dome, Royal Rumble 2017. I like this match. Bayley throws a significantly better elbow than CM Punk ever did. That is my takeaway. Moving on. Match number 57. Bret Hart versus The Undertaker for the WWF title, Royal Rumble 1996. Famously in Bret Hart's book, he talks about this match and mentions, how do you have a good match with a zombie?
Yep.
I think he did it.
Yep. Not play video games before.
Get fucking drunk. Fight people at the bar. That's how you do it. Get in a fight with 8 fucking Marines in Syracuse or something. Whatever.
And then cry.
Lose your smile. That's how you fucking do it in my day. And take Percocets. Moving on. Match number 56. Edge versus Rey Mysterio for the World Heavyweight title, Royal Rumble 2008. God bless these men. If it got 10 more minutes, it would be significantly higher on this list. Really good match.
I gotta say, sorry. Really good match. You can finish your thought.
I was the last thing was too much Vicky Guerrero.
Yeah.
Little too much.
Yeah. It's so crazy. And I haven't been defending WWE for this whole Edge win. But it's so crazy when you name some of these performers, Rey Mysterio versus Edge, and Sheamus and Cesaro.
2012,
Yeah, and we're talking about the last 2 decades.
Yeah, man. That's crazy. It is really crazy. So, yeah,
but it goes to show you also, these motherfuckers take care of themselves.
Oh, absolutely. The longevity and like to be able to come back from the things that both of these guys have come back from. It's just, incredible athletes and very, very dedicated. You can't fucking hate on these guys.
Yep.
So that was 56. Number 55, King Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns. Falls Count Anywhere. Royal Rumble 2020. Minute Maid Park. The cheatinest park in all of baseball, Houston, Texas. I like this match a lot. Crazy involvement with the Usos, diving off fucking girders. Roman Reigns wins with a spear on the dugout. Really enjoyable. And if you're going to point to the top 5 or 10 Baron Corbin matches, I bet you're looking at this one pretty early.
I don't understand why Baron Corbin gets all the hate.
Oh, he's just way too pushed. That's why. It's just too much on every show.
Here's my issue. Here's my issue.
Go on, please.
I just melted. But WWE doesn't create new stars.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
How do you get stars? You push them.
That's a really good fucking point, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. I just think it's too much.
I understand, but you see this cause and effect that the internet wrestling community has done.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. No, you're completely right. But of all fucking people, why him? Why do you pick him? Why is he the guy who's on every fucking show?
Why The Rock? Why The Rock?
Well, because The Rock is a little better than goddamn Baron Corbin, Boris.
Is he though?
Yes.
Hold on. We're gonna have this conversation right now. Okay, Mike skills withstanding. As a wrestler, Baron Corbin or The Rock?
The Rock 1,000 times out of 1,000? Is this a serious question? The Rock's actually really good. He was a talented worker. He had good matches with a lot of guys.
Baron Corbin isn't
Baron Corbin is becoming a solid big man. The Rock is like actually a really good wrestler. I think there's a big difference between those two guys.
I think Rock's great, but the point I'm trying to make here is
But Baron Corbin's not as bad as people act, but he's just so shoved down our fucking throats.
so is Cody.
You just thought everything's about Cody, for fuck's sakes. I'm sorry he gave you the finger. I really am. Okay.
He's gonna kick my ass one day.
I mean, it should, yeah. It's funny. And fucking he and Downstate coming for you, adrenaline in his soul. Oh, no, he has a Snoop Dogg theme, and it sucks. Oh,
As long as Downstate plays I Came to Play, I'm good.
Oh, did they sing that song too?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's all.
I guess that makes sense. Okay, moving on. Match number 54. We're entering a brief little Royal Rumble stretch here again in terms of Royal Rumble matches. 1994 Royal Rumble match number 54 from Providence, Rhode Island, of all places. This was the first ever co-winners of a Royal Rumble, Bret Hart and Lex Luger together. You mentioned that you quite like this one, and you were a Lex Luger fan.
American made. Made in America. Lex Express. What is there not to like? I am American. Just let's remind everyone.
Yes.
I'm born in LA. I'm American. American made. I cry when Bret Hart made fun of my country and then I became Canadian. Actually, fun fact, that summer I became a Canadian citizen.
Oh, nice. That's good. Bret Hart just fucking tearing you to shreds.
Yep.
But at least you joined the team. Yeah, no, I Lex Luger, he fucking body slammed Yokozuna. He was getting a large push. Didn't quite work out for him, as we saw.
Yeah, that 1993 SummerSlam was the first time, and I didn't know the ins and the outs of the wrestling business. Yeah. I still don't know. Let's be honest. Yeah. We talk like we do, but we don't fucking know. But that was the first time I'm like, wasn't Lex Luger supposed to win this match? And I didn't know the details. And years later, I understood why. But
of course, yeah, it was just so silly that they reacted as though he won the title.
That's how you bury.
Yes. Such a goof he looked like, just absolute clown. But yeah, this was a good Royal Rumble. Diesel heavily involved. Getting the original fucking Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman push. Looking good. A match that I might be on an island on. But I really like this match. Match number 53, the 1995 Royal Rumble match. Shawn Michaels goes bell to bell.
You see, I have issues with this match.
Please, go on.
Issue number 1. 60-second intervals.
Yeah. It definitely lessened the impact of Shawn Michaels going all the way.
Issue number 2. Some entrants, just no one came out.
What do you mean?
There would be the countdown going down, and no one would walk down the aisle.
That might have happened once. I think they did get.
No, that happened 2 or 3 times.
I don't think 2 or 3. I'd have to watch it again. I'm pretty sure it didn't. I will tell you this: the roster was fucking barren in 1995. There was Dick Murdoch was in that match.
There were probably barely even 30 wrestlers on the roster.
Oh yeah. It was rough. They were calling in guys like Dick Murdoch. They called in they had every goofball on the roster, such as Mantar, that they could possibly get. Timothy Well and Stephen Dunn. But yeah, no, I thought this was, how else are you gonna put a man over? Shawn Michaels comes in at goddamn number 1, and they let him win it. They did a angle at the end of it that was so memorable that we're seeing it to this day. It's become wildly overplayed, in fact. But, yeah.
What angles is that?
Him hanging at the bottom rope and 1 foot must touch the floor, and he comes back while Bulldogs.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to be specific.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things from this Rumble, and this is why I thought, I'm going to say, this Rumble should be higher.
No.
Because this Rumble introduced a lot of dynamics and storytelling elements that we see today. Number 1, Shawn Michaels dangling.
Yeah.
bell to bell.
Just saw it.
Yeah, we literally just saw it. There's a lot of things, and the way that this Rumble was built, like, we see a lot of these things happening now.
Absolutely. No, I like this match. I think it's good. I've heard it called like the worst Royal Rumble and a terrible Royal Rumble. And again, the roster is pretty bad.
It's the roster. Yeah. It has nothing to do with the match. If you look at the match from a storytelling point of view, the childhood dream is happening in this Rumble.
In front of our eyes. It is.
Yeah, it's wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think we should also say the fact that as we're rating these matches, as you're rating these matches, it's not just, is this a good wrestling match?
Yeah.
We're looking at the entire package.
Exactly. The commentary. If there's a promo before and after that directly affects the presentation, that counts in my opinion. All that stuff. Exactly. Even like the storyline going in. The crowd is a huge factor.
The crowd is a huge factor. And this is why, 14 to 16 just hurt.
Absolutely. It was a very bad period.
Mind you, why would you book anti-crowd stuff in Philadelphia?
Oh my God! Of all places, they'll turn on you. They turned on Santa Claus. They'll turn on you for anything. They don't give a shit about anything in Philadelphia. Anyway, yes. So that was 1995. I feel like that's a divisive match. I'd like to hear people's thoughts on that one specifically.
Same here. I think it should be higher.
I think it's perfectly rated. Match number 52. The 2011 Royal Rumble, won by fucking wretched piece of shit Alberto Del Rio. I did like the match though. It's become so overdone, like the guy coming in from out of nowhere, the Santino Morella spot, but this was the first time it was done in a major battle royal. It was definitely the first time that I remember seeing it. I was in a house full of people, and I'm telling you, when Santino came in and he fucking crossed himself, I've never seen a house full of wrestling, like watching people react like that. Like everybody stood up. It was fucking like they were screaming. Like I'll never forget how shocking that actually was the first time you saw it. It'll stick with me forever. I really thought this was a very strong Royal Rumble match. The final two were Santino and, again, wretched piece of shit Alberto Del Rio. It sucks that he won it. No more needs to be said.
Yep.
Match number 51. Here's another one that I'm probably on an island on, but this fucking put this man over. Big Show versus Brock Lesnar, Royal Rumble 2014. Brock Lesnar murders the Big Show with 1,000 chair shots. He looks like the scariest man of all time. He beats the Big Show into a puddle of fucking giant goo sitting there in the mat, and then walks away triumphant and crazy and angry and scary.
Yep.
This is how you make Brock Lesnar into the baddest man on the roster, which he was for probably too long.
You know what? Here's my thing. Let Baron Corbin do this. He'll get over, buddy.
Excuse me, I was drinking beer. Nobody's going to deny that. We don't need any more fucking schemes to get Baron Corbin over, for the love of God.
I got 1,001.
I'm sure you do. Number 50.
And here's the thing. Okay. I don't even like Baron Corbin.
I just like him
to spite the people that hate him.
Oh, you're such a heel. You're such a heel at all times. All right. Number 50 and the last match of the 3.5 elimination, 3.5 star tier. Kurt Angle versus Triple H, WWF World Title, Royal Rumble 2001, nearing the end of the Stephanie McMahon love triangle angle. So it's hard for me to call this very good.
Love Kurt Angle?
Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, that was this was great. Kurt Angle and Triple H are such entertaining wrestlers. They could read the phone book fucking sideways through an avalanche uphill both ways, and I would still enjoy what they were doing. But yeah, there's too many shenanigans to call this even very good. It was not quite great, but I think this was basically either as good as a bad match can get or as bad as a good match can get. I'm not quite sure, but this is the top of the good.
This is that slice of pizza where no matter what, it's going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 3 days old in your fridge. You take it out. You remember, you look at the toppings. You're like, oh, man, there's some good bacon on this. There's some good pepperoni on this. And then you eat it, and it's like, that was good. That was good. That's what this was. All right, we're into a new tier, Boris. We're going 3 3/4 eliminations out of 5. This is 75% elimination. These are B+ by the Canadian grading system. Very good wrestling matches.
Here's the thing, my friend Matt. As we're going down this list, I know what is to come. And I'm like questioning some of these right now.
Oh, nice. Well, I can't wait. We'll get into it. A little bit.
All right, we're already at 2:42
No,
in terms of recording time.
Might have to cut it.
I don't know how this show's going to come out.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the time because just so that people know, we're taking an afternoon. We're recording this. We're drinking beer. We're having fun. We're talking wrestling. I'm trying to get Baron Corbin over.
To the house, I mean. We've called him up a number of times. They're trying to get him here. Turns out there's a global pandemic. Anyway.
Yeah. And, yeah, it's interesting because I'm thinking of the matches that we still have to go through.
Well, we'll see. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm right. Fucking, this is why we do the list format, Boris.
So yeah, like what I was gonna say is I don't know how this is gonna sound to people listening, but
we'll find out. Hey, maybe it's bad, but you know what? There's gonna be a print version as well, which will help.
Tell me where the print version is.
Sportsfap.com, your place celebrating sports, both fake and real. Your source for fapping. Source for fapping it is. I think we need a new catchphrase at sportsfap.com.
You're looking at me like I'm involved in this.
It's just a website that I have. It's just a, kind of like a jokish, sportsish writing website just for me to, goof off on. Fap, if you will. About sports, by God. Anyway.
And Baron Corbin.
I have not and will not fap over Baron Corbin. Moving on. 3 3/4 stars, the following matches. Starting with match number 49, the 2007 Royal Rumble match. A terrible match for 75 to 80% of it, and arguably the greatest closing stretch in Royal Rumble history.
2007.
Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker closing it out.
You know what? I don't remember this one.
Oh, wow.
Because I wasn't watching wrestling at this time.
True. This was right before the Chris Benoit tragedies happened. Well, 6 months before, and that definitely ended the wrestling fandom of a lot of Canadians, myself included, for a number of years. But yeah, this was a very memorable Royal Rumble match, wherein the final two was a classic of all time. But yeah, the rest of the match actually pretty bad. So I think it was made very good. The bottom of the very good pile by the fact that the final two was classic stuff. Classic.
Right.
Bumping this match to that level. Number 48, the 2017 Royal Rumble match from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. This was won by Randy Orton. Randy Orton.
This is the infamous Fiend. Why is Randy Orton the face storyline?
Yes, yeah, that whole business where he burnt down the Fiend's garage or whatever.
It's crazy to think this
his woodshed
still going on.
Oh my God, 3-4 years later. But yeah, this was entertaining Royal Rumble and a return to form for the great Royal Rumble after the horrible stretch that was 14 to 16.
Depends how you feel about Randy Orton.
And I feel good. I feel good about him.
Oh.
Number 47, the 2019 Men's Royal Rumble. Again, it's pretty hard to say, they did a very good Royal Rumble. You got to watch these matches at some point. But it was entertaining. This is the one that was won by Seth Rollins. What more can you say? He went on to beat Brock Lesnar, he did, and then the fans turned on him because he's such a sniveling nerd.
Yep. But Toronto loved him.
That they did. Good for Toronto. They'll cheer a babyface.
There's something about Toronto and wrestling, and this is why I love Toronto and wrestling.
Exactly.
Fans.
Well, I was just gonna say they'll cheer a babyface if he's good. You know what I mean? They'll turn on you if you're getting stale or you're shitty.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is, Toronto does have this notorious thing of just shitting on babyfaces.
Yeah, they do. They do. But for often, not that they deserve it, quote unquote. But like, oh, sorry, got a hair in my mouth. Losing my hair pores. Yeah. So sometimes like Edge in 2004 when he got booed at SummerSlam, it was because the Edge character was impossibly stale in the summer of 2004. He hadn't changed at all in 4 years.
Were you at SummerSlam 2019?
I was at the Survivor Series with Brock.
2016.
Yes.
So when Edge came out during the Elias at the kickoff, holy shit.
What a reaction that must
Dude,
have been. Yeah.
it was insane.
I did not see that live, but yeah, it was insane on TV, I can imagine.
Yeah, needless to say, Toronto, like, they test the waters of what's going on, right? Like,
we're a smart fan base, Boris, as this podcast will probably tell you. No, I'm just kidding. Match number 46, the 2010 Royal Rumble match. Cons, Matt Stryker on commentary. That's been said. Pros, this was the match where CM Punk was cutting or mid-match promos. Awesome little angle. This is a bunch of like really cool things that you forget about the Royal Rumble actually happened in this. Beth Phoenix and Great Khali, I believe, was in this match.
Yep.
Just a very good, entertaining Royal Rumble matchup in 2010.
Yep, because this is the build-up to WrestleMania 26, right?
Yes, I want to say, which is Michaels versus Undertaker career versus, yeah. And that's another great thing about this was Michaels was fighting so hard to get that match versus The Undertaker.
Yep.
Awesome storytelling, good Royal Rumble. Proper job by WWE in 2010 there. Match number 45, coming out of nowhere off the top rope. The Glamour Girls, Judy Martin and Leilani Kai versus the Jumping Bomb Angels of Itsuki Yamazaki and Norio Tateno.
Yes.
WWF Women's Tag Team titles, 2 out of 3 falls. Royal Rumble 1988.
I love it. You see, this is one of those matches where I'm like, he hasn't said this match. Did he forget about this match?
No, sir.
Because when I sent you the message about the 1988 Royal Rumble being a freaking hot streak.
Yeah.
And you questioned my sanity as a wrestling fan.
You were talking about this?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a great match. I love this match. It was very good. It didn't quite hit great match status. Problems with this match. Vince McMahon didn't know the names of the tag team.
The commentary ruined this match.
Jesse,
and again, this goes back to my point earlier about anytime you get non-American or non-Vince McMahon wrestlers, he just will do everything in his power to shit on you. Because I'm pretty sure at some point in the match, he's like saying, like almost borderline saying, the Japanese girls.
Yeah, no, he's like, at some point he's like, well, let's just call one pink and the other red.
Yes.
And Jesse's like, that's fucking stupid. Like, let's not do that. Yeah. And then they go to commercial break and they come back and Vince has been told in his ear what the names are of the wrestlers. And after commercial, he starts actually calling them by their names.
Yeah, but the first few minutes of this match were so cringe.
It was a little cringe.
Commentary.
It was a little cringe. But still, it's a women's tag team match from 1988. And they
Hold on, what? What? Hold on. What? What? Hold on.
I know. It might shock you to find out that women actually wrestled at some point before 2017. Can you believe it? But
I can't believe this.
Considering the time and place, awesome performance by these ladies. Awesome job.
Yeah, and also a big takeaway for this match was this. I know. I feel like I'm like self whatever, but the crowd in Hamilton did a great job throughout this entire show. And this match in particular, not only was it women's wrestling in the 80s, not only was it like these random people that I don't know, but the crowd just ate this up. Yep. It started slow, but as the match went on, that third pin, the crowd was 100% into this.
They respected good wrestling, and that's what they wanted to see. They wanted to see wrestling, and they got a good example of wrestling.
This match was great. This went second after Rude and
Ricky the Dragon.
Yeah.
Very good wrestling match. Hurt slightly, honestly, and I don't often say this because I love them both as commentators, but hurt slightly by the performance of Vince and Jesse. And Jesse did a way better job than Vince.
Yeah, and I feel like this is like at that pivotal time where Jesse just wanted to get fired because he just ripped on McMahon the entire show.
Big time. Especially in this match. It's actually entertaining for that reason.
Yeah.
Match number 44, the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt versus Eminem, Joey Mercury and Johnny Nitro featuring Melina. Royal Rumble 2007.
Yeah.
Good match. The classic quintessential Southern style tag that you hear about. Long, extended heat segments, little bit of cheating, little bit of how do you do. There's a manager on the outside.
And this is also that era where the Hardy Boys physically couldn't do insane bumps.
No, just they're human. It's 2007.
But that's what I mean. Yeah. From 2000 until about 2006, they were doing insane matches. So there was this little time there where they were doing regular matches.
Yeah.
And that's when I actually really liked them.
Absolutely. They're both good wrestlers. And Matt Hardy he's like a Xavier Woods. He has a great mind for wrestling, it seems, because all of the matches that he's in have unique and cool things in them.
Yep.
So, yeah. +1 thumbs up upvote to this match. Hardy Boys and Eminem. Good performance. Southern style wrestling.
Also, this is after the big nosebleed.
Oh, I believe that's Armageddon 2006.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a month after.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's coming off of the heels. I think they actually mentioned it. Come to think of it,
because I know he was wearing the face mask.
Yeah. So it must
I remember the promo.
What a disgusting spot.
Whew.
Oh, man. Oh, wrestling is so dangerous. Jesus Christ, man. So many things can go wrong at any time.
That's the thing. Literally, you turn at the wrong second and your life could end. Or your face could explode.
Demolished. Ugh. If you don't know what we're referencing, Armageddon 2006, there's a disgusting ladder spot with Joey Mercury just eating a ladder directly to the face. You don't need to see it if you haven't.
But his face blows up.
His face blows up. It blows up. Okay.
He looks like Baron Corbin punched him.
Oh, my God. So we're entering an Edge pack here. A three-way Edge dance coming up at you. Number 43, Edge versus Shawn Michaels, Royal Rumble 2005. Number 42, Edge versus Jeff Hardy, no disqualification, Royal Rumble 2009. And number 41, Edge versus Dolph Ziggler, Royal Rumble 2011. So let's just talk about Edge for a second.
Yeah.
I think he's underrated. I honestly, we're two guys from Toronto. Obviously, we're gonna love Edge. It's almost silly to talk about this, but he's a great promo. Has almost exclusively good matches. Longevity coming back from this injury. He's done it in gimmicks. He's done it against big men, small men, face or heel, tag team or single.
I feel like he carries the company when there's a lot of criticism to the company.
Yeah,
even right now, there's the big argument that we're seeing out of the 2021 Royal Rumble is the old guard versus the new guard. These old fucks, not Dan and Joe, but the Edges, yes. The Rey Mysterios, the whatever, versus and this is what's funny, your Matt Riddles, your Damian Priest, who are 35 and 38 respectively.
Worth noting. Yeah.
So, I feel like Edge is getting a lot of flack by the internet wrestling community for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Obviously, and we're Canadian, we're fanboys, we're going to be biased. So take this with a grain of salt. But yeah, I think Edge is a Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame talent. I am glad to see him, and I hope he gets a nice run and stays healthy here. That's pretty much it, So again, that was 43, Edge versus Shawn Michaels. 42, Edge versus Jeff Hardy. 41, Edge versus Dolph Ziggler.
How cool must have it been for Edge to fight Shawn Michaels?
Oh, man.
I don't think people realize how big of a fan Edge was.
That's the thing. He got to be trained as a wrestler because he won an essay contest about how much he loved wrestling, and that's how he got free wrestling training, and the rest was history. It's such a great story, man. That's
right by here.
That's amazing, man. He's one of us. You know what I mean? He's like the quintessential fan. He did it.
And actually, here's a little Edge and Boris trivia. He didn't give me a middle finger, but I remember going to my first independent show ever, and Edge was there.
Nice. Sexton Hardcastle?
Sexton Hardcastle. It was at an Applebee's in Scarborough.
Oh, wow. Applebee's Wrestling
Apocalypse Wrestling Federation. AWF.
The
run by
Applebee's.
Ron Hutchison.
Ronnie. The Applebee's Wrestling Federation. That's hilarious. Oh, man. Good for Edge. From Applebee's to the big stage. All right, so moving on after the Edge pack, we are now within the top 40, Boris. Number 40, we've mentioned it already. Sergeant Slaughter versus the Ultimate Warrior. WWF title, Royal Rumble 1991. If you listen to nothing else that I say in these next 4 hours, listen to these words. The greatest run-in in wrestling history happens in this match.
Yes.
The greatest.
No, not only the greatest run-in, but I love the fact that these people just overshadowed the entire match.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, the pre-match interview the entire storyline between the Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man. And I know that this was the build-up to the retirement match, career v. career.
WrestleMania 7.
Yep. But, like, the fact that Sergeant Slaughter, who was anti-America, which was a huge deal back then.
Yes.
Won the belt, but he was overshadowed by the sensational Sherry and Macho Man.
And the Macho King.
The Macho King.
Yeah, absolutely fucking insane run-in where Warrior is chasing after Sherry, going all the way down the ramp, and then out of the absolute ether, the Macho Man comes, brains the Ultimate Warrior, grabs a light fixture, softly cross-checks the light fixture into him, and then runs away like a fucking thief in the night at Mach 10. It's hilarious. It's one of the great wrestling gifs on Twitter. You must see it if you have not seen that.
Everything about that it was just so amazing. Like I said, the interview. Watch that interview with Sherry Martel, Gene Okerlund, and the Ultimate Warrior. Like, Sherry just begging, and Ultimate Warrior just like warrioring up and saying no.
Yes, thirsty, sensational Sherry was a sight to behold, for sure.
Thirsty. We're thirsty right now, apparently. I'm looking at our coffee table. We're doing quite the job on a Tuesday morning.
Different kind of thirsty, to be clear.
All right, Matt, it's time for another break. We're going to break and we're going to have another interview. This time, we're joined by Mike Fenn of the Work Rate Podcast. Thank you, Mike, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Mike. So, you're a wrestling fan. Both Matt and I are obviously wrestling fans. That's why we're here talking all things Royal Rumble. So, how long have you been a wrestling fan, and what is it that got you into wrestling?
It's funny. I'm that fan that Cody Rhodes talks about, that was a fan from when he was a little kid, since before I can remember. Watched it until high school, then dropped out because high school I didn't have time. It wasn't on. I was a WCW fan, and that normally aired during the day. So because I was at school, I didn't have time to watch it anymore. And then WCW disappeared, and I disappeared from wrestling fandom. I got back into wrestling because of the community we're in. There was a fantasy league, and I just joined that for fun. So that sort of that got me paying attention to wrestling. And then through those people, they're like, "Oh, you should watch this New Japan wrestling match." I had never watched Japanese wrestling before. I watched that and I was like, "Oh my God, this isn't boring." And then from then on, that's what got me back into it. So then I was obsessively following Japanese wrestling from that point. I got into the indies. As soon as there was word that these guys were coming to North America, I was all in with AEW. And then now I just split between AEW and New Japan and the odd indie show, GCW, that type of thing. That's my bread and butter.
A very similar story to a lot of people nowadays, right? Like, I think it's a more common thing to hear that, hey, I was a fan as a kid, took a break, now I'm back, but I've expanded what I kind of watch. And I feel like, your story is a little different because you've always been that WCW fan, which is very
Absolutely.
rare to find here in Toronto.
Yeah, it was really funny that I got hooked. Like, it was shocking to me to watch the NWO form. To me, that was the most shocking thing in the world when they walked up onto the announce booth and they spray painted on the back of the announcer. I can't remember who it was at the time, but for me as a kid, that was the craziest thing I'd seen in my life. And at that time, I wasn't watching Stone Cold. I wasn't watching HBK, and honestly, the sex stuff that they were pushing in WWE, honestly, it made me as a kid uncomfortable. So I gravitated to the NWO like biker personas that they were putting forward. So that's where I gravitate. And the video games,
Yeah.
honestly, like the WCW versus NWO, I was very heavily involved with those with all my friends. And so that's what we knew, that's what we loved. And then when that was gone, I was like, well, I don't care anymore. And then took like a 15, 16, 17-year sabbatical from wrestling and then came back.
Right. See, that's something that a lot of people always forget is that, when WWF, WWE ended up buying WCW, there was a whole segment of fans that just dropped off and that was it. Like, sayonara, we're done. And they never watched the WWF, WWE product. Like, that was never in their books because it wasn't so much wrestling as opposed to being a fan of WCW. Some people did jump on board, but for the most part, I would say that, a lot of the fans, if you take a look at the ratings, they dropped off. So, it's been years for a lot of fans since they've watched anything. And I'm finding that these are the fans who search out the indies, may have been Impact fans for like all 5 of them, and and always seeked out the alternative.
Yeah, there was something very vibrant about WCW. Like just the lighting and how they presented it, whereas WWE was very gritty.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I don't want to say it repulsed me as in I was disgusted, but it physically repulsed me away from their product, and I never came back. And every once in a while, I've tried to watch it over the years, and I would get maybe 45 minutes in, and then I'd be like, I'm not. It's not clicking.
Yeah.
And then just everyone's. But I've always been a wrestling fan, but I wasn't enjoying the current product.
Yeah.
And I heard about NXT. I came back to NXT to watch it a bit. I was like, okay, this is good. But again, and also there's the stigma of WWE, and not so much a stigma, but the morality of some of their backroom stuff that they've done. Their stuff in Saudi Arabia, like stuff like that. I was just like, it's not worth watching a product I don't love. So I didn't.
Yeah.
So that's where I stuck to the indies. And then all my indie wrestlers all of a sudden started showing up in AEW. So I was like, oh, fantastic. Jungle Boy, Joey Janela, Darby Allin. Those were my favorite wrestlers for about a year and a half while I was watching the indies. And then they all showed up in AEW at once. So I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's, you're not the biggest WWF fan, WWE fan, but was there always something about, like, the big 4? Did you try to watch those, focusing on Royal Rumble, did you watch a lot of the Royal Rumble growing up?
I watched a lot of the Royal Rumble, but from VHS tapes.
Yeah.
I was a Blockbuster WWE fan.
Yeah.
So it was whenever my parents would allow me to watch it, or when my uncle, who worked for Jumbo Video, would bring home like test VHSs that say like, do not copy this. This is property of Jumbo Video, scrolling along the bottom. So my favorite Royal Rumble is one that nobody has on their list, and that's 91.
Wow.
Where Hogan eliminates Earthquake. That's my favorite because that's the one I owned.
That's awesome.
And I watched that about 75 times. I wore that thing out.
It's so funny how that works, especially with wrestling, because wrestling at the end of the day, it's so subjective, like who gravitates towards what and whatever. It's not like there's stats. It's not like somebody's actually winning for real. You know what I mean? It's not like there's, you just gravitate toward the stories and the performers that you like. So that's pretty cool. I remember I had a similar story. My aunt bought me the tape, the VHS, the double VHS of WrestleMania 4. And like I wore that thing out. I love WrestleMania 4. It's part of the reason why I love Macho Man Savage so much. But that's almost inarguably the worst WrestleMania. That or 9. It's really a bad WrestleMania. But I love it. You know, I definitely feel you on that one.
Yeah, it's funny. I have I can't. It might be that same WrestleMania. I don't think it is, but where Macho Man lifts Elizabeth up on his shoulder, where they're reunited. Well, I have that one, and that main event, or the main event with Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter, was so scary to me because of the blood.
Yeah.
I didn't like watching it. So like the little kid me, like the 5-6-year-old me, was terrified of it, and I loved the colorful nature of that Royal Rumble, and the cover, the poster that they had with all the guys walking as if it's like a Warriors movie movie poster. I would stare at that thing for hours.
Yeah, that's definitely among the greatest wrestling posters ever. Possibly the single GOAT wrestling poster. That thing is so beautiful, and they copy it all the time now, but they haven't hit the original.
92, they just redid it. They put Flair on it.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. Hogan's in the exact same position as he was the year before. But yeah, so that for me, it was VHS. So it was whatever they had at Blockbuster. That's what I watched, and those were the ones that whatever was available. So I watched the second Royal Rumble, which was '89, I believe, countless times because that was always available. So I've seen that one countless times as well.
A classic.
And for me, my favorite guy was always Andre.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And then the final one in '90 is so sad because he can't go anymore.
Yeah,
and he's sitting on against the ropes the whole match until he's out. But it's funny because there's only 3 Rumbles that he's in, but he's the most iconic Rumble guy for me. But he's only been in 3 as far as I can remember, at least official Royal Rumbles.
Yep, you're right.
That is another Royal Rumble moment that I will always remember is Giant Gonzalez appearing and attacking the Ultimate Warrior because I was so terrified.
Oh,
I was just watching it on highlights. I was sneaking watching back everything that happened the week before, and they were just showing the vignette that they were showing of the Giant Gonzalez, and I had chills because at that point it was still real to me.
Yeah.
As a little kid, and it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen in my life. And my dad had to tell me about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, there's this guy, the Giant Gonzalez. He can't really do anything. He pretty much just chokes guys and gives headbutts." He's like, he's not a very good wrestler, but he beat up the Undertaker. And I was like, what? Like clutching my pearls.
Yeah.
I was like, why does he look like that? Not realizing that it was a bodysuit. Like so all the smoke and mirrors worked on me as a kid.
Yeah, definitely. And especially the Giant Gonzalez. He was terrifying. You'd have to be like under the age of 8, probably. But if you were, boy, was he terrifying. Scary individual.
Oh, yeah, it's funny. Like my favorite wrestlers and the ones that scared me are guys that could not get over with me now at all. Ultimate Warrior, my favorite. Ultimate Warrior had no moves.
Yeah.
Like he was not a very good wrestler, but to me, as a young Michael, he was my hero. Hulk Hogan was my hero. Nowadays, it's just like I don't even know what I saw in him.
Yeah. That's the unfortunate thing there. It's like, and it's funny kind of taking back and taking a look at your memories and seeing who you liked, who you didn't like, and now comparing them and watching the older product as an adult, especially as someone who kind of dissects the shows more, by hosting a podcast. So it's kind of fun doing that sometimes. You also completely ruin the experience sometimes.
Oh, for sure. It's tough sometimes. You get very jaded. It's like learning what goes into making movies, and then watching a movie now, and you're picking apart little things that you didn't even know existed before, or for me, I went to school for graphic design, so I'll see something walking down the street and just like, oh, they should have done this, or I can see why they did this. No, you don't want to see how the sausage is made all the time, and you don't want to always be analyzing it. Yeah, it's nice to watch it as a fan and not trying to overanalyze the booking. You're like, well, they can't possibly be putting this guy over because they're obviously pushing this guy to the moon, and this guy's too young at this point, so he has to wait. Yeah, there's something pure that I wish I was still a kid. I wish I was still a kid sometimes when I'm watching wrestling.
I gotta be honest, like a lot of the audience that Matt and I have, give me hell because I'm very critical of AEW. I am not a quote-unquote fanboy. I'm going to criticize them the exact same way that I criticize WWE. So if there's something that I don't like, I will call it out. Something that, and people are still in this kind of honeymoon phase with AEW, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to call them out when they do stupid stuff. On Wednesday nights when I watch Dynamite, I'm very critical of the show. But, so this is news to Matt, but later on in the week, I rewatch the show, regardless of what I thought about it. And I try to do just that. Sit back, watch the show as a fan, and I tend to enjoy it a little more, but the things that bothered me originally, sometimes I'll turn on them and not hate it, but there's things that I hated that really, really bothers me. But yeah, it's just funny but I'm doing everything I can in my power to enjoy the product, which I am. Trust me, I'm enjoying the product so much, but, I'm not going to kind of give them a free pass all the time.
There's no point in giving free passes.
Yeah.
There's no point in not being critical of the things you love.
One thing I noticed over the past few weeks is, you've been very critical of AEW. As much as, you host a podcast talking about it, but you're very critical, and I'm like, thank you. We need more of you in this world.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of that in all fandoms, whether it's comics or movies or video games or whatever, where people will defend the thing they watch or the thing they like to death without being able to critique it. And if you can't critique it, they're never going to improve. I went to art school, and part of art school is part of the curriculum is critiquing your own peers. That is part of it. And I've learned to have a thick skin for that, but also to learn how to critique the things that you love and be able to better. Well, for me, as an artist, I need people to tear my stuff down sometimes so I can get better. And if you hear the same critiques from enough people enough times, you're like, okay, I have to take that to heart and I need to improve. And obviously, they're not listening to everything we say in wrestling. But sometimes they are. Sometimes they're on Twitter reading or listening to the podcast, I assume. Vanity searching their names. But it's very important. And I find that there's not enough of that these days. And I think it also makes a podcast very boring if all you do is pump up the tires of the show you watch.
That's
as much as it's not necessarily fun listening to a show where you're tearing down something that you love. I've listened to podcasts where someone's tearing down a show they love. It's just like, I don't feel like listening to it this week. And I get it sometimes. Sometimes you don't want to hear the negativity and you just skip a week and come back later. But
exactly.
It's a discussion.
It is possible to be critical, but positive at the same time, right? That's something that Matt and I try to do with our show is we always try to find that sparkle and just, actually try to like it and enjoy it and find something good about it.
Yeah, I just think as long as you're being genuine, right? As long as you're honest and as long as you truly believe what you're saying, then, you can embellish or you can exaggerate, you can perform. At the end of the day, this is a performance and you can but you do, if you're just saying something just to say it, be it positive or negative, that's going to come out. Well, what comes out is the passion and the truth behind what you're saying. You know what I mean? I think that's all that matters is you have some conviction.
It needs to be good faith criticism, whether it's positive or negative.
Yeah.
It needs to be.
Good faith is a way to put it. I find that happens often where, especially on the internet, forget about it. But yeah, just as long as people are arguing in good faith, then I have time for them at this point,
Absolutely.
Especially with the wrestling community. The wrestling community is just such an interesting community to try to talk to appease to, and at this point I'm at it, I just don't. I know I'm gonna piss people off with things I say, and it is what it is. Listen to us, please listen to us always, but let me know what you think. I'll probably ignore you, but it's there on the table, and it's food for thought more than anything else.
Well, yeah, is like the one thing that with Brad, my co-host, and I, we are the calm, positive NPR of the internet wrestling culture. That's what we go. We talk about what we didn't like, we talk about what we liked, but I try and stick to the positive as much as possible, because I'm talking about what I like. We're talking about something that we're passionate about. There's no point in hate watching something to watch it just to tear it down. And that's what my Twitter is as well. I tweet people just like, hey, great match last night. Great this, great that. I like to boost creatives, boost people who are doing something creative, because there's so much negativity out there. And sometimes after a wrestling show, I'm all excited and I'm on Twitter and just like, oh God, what is this dumpster fire that is happening on Twitter right now? Let me just close this for the night.
Yeah. Like, I love our Wednesday night chats. Usually I'm like in preparation to record our own show, so I'm on the computer and we're having a conversation, but it's just like, it's those are some of the conversations that I really enjoy with some of the fans, right? When we're talking about the stuff that we like.
I had my first segment of AEW where I just didn't want to talk about it this past week. I was like, I don't really want to talk about this. I was like, I've talked about this enough for the past few weeks. They're doing it again. I didn't like it. Let's move on. And we just went to the next. And that was the Sting Darby stuff. I'm just so tired of the repetition of it, which is, I'm totally fine bringing in Sting. On that podcast, I was wearing my Sting shirt to watch the episode of Dynamite. However, like, Sting has a mystique. They bring him in and he's all jovial. He's talking too much. He's happy-go-lucky Sting, dressed like the Crow. It's weird. He's not getting physical with anybody because he can't get physical. They treat everything as if it's long-term booking, but how are you going to treat something with long-term booking when the guy can't get physical, so he just has to stand in the ring and talk every single week for a 3-month build?
Yeah, with that, it's literally the same segment over and over. And for me, Sting is, like you said, this mystical character. There's this aura around him, about, like, he's a legend. He's the legend's legend. Only a few people are at his level. So the fact that he's showing up every single week, it's really kind of making it less important for me.
It's the physical manifestation of the law of diminishing returns.
Yes.
Is what it is with him. And the more he was at his best in WCW when he wasn't talking, we didn't see him for weeks on end. And sometimes they just show him up in the rafters, and that's all you saw. And that was cool. Yeah. As a kid, you're like, oh, when's Sting going to come back? I know when Sting's going to come back. He's going to come back next week at about the 8:30 mark. He's going to stand in the ring. He's going to talk about how much he loves to be there, how much he loves the fan. That was Surfer Sting, guys. That wasn't Crow Sting.
That's exactly it. This AEW Sting is kind of this like weird hybrid of 80s Surfer Sting and mid-90s Crow Sting. It's kind of weird, but it is what it is. All right, so Mr. Positivity himself here, Mike Fenn, Work Rate Podcast. Tell me about the podcast.
Okay, so the podcast, it started, actually, funny enough, we started the podcast with a review of the G1, and then we transitioned it right into a AEW review podcast, and we will go off and do the odd specific podcast for something else, but it's essentially whatever we're excited about at that time, and right now it's just AEW. So for the time being, it's we review the podcast. We break down the matches, we break down what we liked about it, we talk about where we hope it's going to go going forward. We rate it. We talk about the work rate of each match, and so far it's been really good. It's a lot of fun. It's my first foray into podcasting, and I couldn't love it more. It makes the I'm really loving the appointment viewing, and now I have a discussion to have afterwards. We do it on Thursday. We record Thursday nights, put it up 5:00 a.m. Friday morning is when it goes live. Yeah, it's been a really good time. It's very free form. We will ramble, as I said this past week, 2 hours from an episode that we really only wanted to talk about one segment.
Love it.
And we didn't get to it until at least an hour and a half into the podcast, or an hour into the podcast. So there you go. But yeah, we also talk about news. So we talk about what else cool is going on in the wrestling world that we're interested in. So this past week we were talking about the NJPW news with their TV deal. I put that in brackets because it's on Roku, but everyone gets that, so that's fun. Yeah, so we go through the news, talk about AEW Dark, talk about what's happening on Impact, talk about what's happening on the show. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a comprehensive breakdown of everything and the pluses and the negatives of it, with an emphasis on the plus.
I love it. A positive wrestling podcast. Who would have thought, Matt?
I don't believe it. Not for a second. I hate it. I'm so full of hate right now. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome, man. We try to do a similar thing here, and got to do your part. Got to be the light, be the change you want to see in the world, etc. Platitudes.
It is the Work Rate Podcast. You can find it on the interwebs. We'll be talking to you very, very soon, I'm sure. Matt, let's get back to it.
Sounds good. Thanks for stopping by, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Boris. Well, we're doing well. Get through this thing. We're nearing the home stretch, but let us crack a little beverage and talk to a good friend.
Exactly. You may know him. You may have heard him. You may have seen him. And he is one of the hosts of Dark Side of the Elite. He is Zane66.
How's everybody doing today?
We're doing pretty good. Thank you for joining us. We're talking everything Royal Rumble, but before that, we want our listeners to get to know you a little better. So tell them a little bit about yourself, how long you've been watching wrestling, and what it is you do for your podcast.
Well, thanks, Boris. Thank you, Matthew, too, for inviting me to the show. My name's Randy, Zane66 of the Dark Side of the Elite. And we, the Dark Order North, what we do is a weekly podcast reviewing Being the Elite. We started about 3 months ago, roughly around the same time where we both entered the contest, Boris. And congratulations, guys, and Matthew for winning.
Thank you.
Great job. Good job. Great job. And yeah, it's been fun so far. Myself, Matthew, and Eric. Just having a good time and enjoying doing it each week. And we've got bigger and broader things coming up. So if you guys like what you hear, go to the Dark Side of the Elite on the Facebook page, and We the Dark Order North on Twitter, and everything. You can follow all of us every week. So
that's awesome. So what is it that you actually review every week? Like, what do you talk about?
Well, we more or less go over the Being the Elite. We are broadening out. With different things coming up in the next month. So we're probably going to go into Dynamite. We more or less stay with the AEW product. What's going on, again, with Being in the Lead each week. Try to keep the pace of the last couple of months on how the storylines stick together and where we think they're going. So, again, with COVID and everything at this time, wrestling's been really enjoyable on my side of it, I believe. With storylines and everything else, and we just again progress with that, and it's been good.
That's awesome. All right, so we're going to take a step back. How long have you been watching wrestling for, and what's your first actual wrestling memory?
I've been watching wrestling since I was about 10, 11 years old. First wrestling memory, I guess the most enjoyable one, I guess, was going to Maple Leaf Gardens. I went with my uncle at the time and watching a live event. And from there, it just got me hooked. As a memory, though, I don't know if you guys heard of this before or heard it from Sunday Night Main Event. My best memory ever, there was an event in Toronto called the Big Event. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yep.
Yeah,
so that week,
Hogan Orndorff, right?
That's right. It was really, really good. It was on a Thursday, and I used to work at a bowling alley, and this was the Wednesday. And in this plaza, there was a sub shop, and the people that owned it was actually Jim the Anvil Neidhart's niece. So she knew I was a big wrestling fan, and she goes, well, I'm going to have a couple of wrestlers over at my house tonight because they were there the night before or whatever. Why don't you come on by after you're done work? So literally her house was one street behind me. So I finished work about 11 o'clock and I go on her street. It was in Clarkson, if you guys know where Clarkson is.
Oh, yeah.
But so I walk down her street, and at the end of her driveway, they're all outside. There's like 4 of them. At the end of the driveway, like Jim the Anvil Neidhart was down there, like talking and laughing loud, really, really loud. So you could spot him right. Sorry?
Oh, I said I believe it.
Yeah, he was like really loud. They were drinking too. But so I spot him right away. So we start walking up. It was me and my friend Dave. And as we get up there, I was like a little, I guess, starstruck, marked out type thing. I was getting a little excited. But out of the corner of my eye, I seen somebody sitting on the porch. And guess who it was? Andre the Giant.
Holy crap.
So immediately I turned, I went to the porch, I sat down, and we sat and talked for about half hour, 45 minutes. But then after that, I was absolutely hooked. So that's probably my biggest story. And then just meeting somebody and just be, like, a little starstruck and fanboyish, and it stuck with me for a bit. And then I went to the event on the Thursday, and that's it.
There you go.
And here we are making podcasts together and interviewing each other. It's it's quite the world of wrestling.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to start talking Royal Rumble. I'm assuming that you've seen most, if not all. What is your favorite memory, favorite match of the Royal Rumble?
The Royal Rumble, I guess, would probably be the 1992 Royal Rumble itself. And at the time, I was a big Ric Flair fan. So seeing him win that, it was absolutely incredible. Shortly thereafter, I guess, when he first came into the WWE. So it was a big, big step. And for 3 last guys, I know people, how can you say it? It's almost like a nostalgia thing. But when you had Hulk Hogan, Sid, and Ric Flair coming to the end, name 3 bigger names at that time in wrestling. There really wasn't any, right? I'm not saying it was the greatest match ever, but again, I was a big Ric Flair mark, so I popped huge.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Especially being a Ric Flair, like Mark, like Stan, like you said, and him coming in at number 3. Do you remember what you thought, like seeing him come down, like, oh, they fucked Ric Flair over? Or were you still so young and kind of murky at that time that you were just like, oh, go get him, Rick? Like, did you think he was going to lose? Did you think he had any chance?
It's Ric Flair. Of course he had a chance. I believe on that aspect of it. I remember at that time, coming in early. I think what was it? 92 was their 5th Royal Rumble or 6th, right? So
yeah, 5th.
5th at that time. So there wasn't really much experience, I guess you can say, going into the Royal Rumble at that time. But from what I remember, too, I think not many people lasted that long. Like, he lasted an hour in that match, right? I think throughout that Royal Rumble, there was only like 2 or 3 other people that lasted over 20 minutes. So once he got probably at that 15-minute mark, I'm trying to remember back, I honestly think he had a chance, especially when it came down to the last 3. So it's Ric Flair. It's Ric Flair.
Woohoo!
So, woo!
All right, so That's the thing about Ric Flair. Like, I'll never forget seeing Ric Flair for the first time. Like, I've talked about it on the show a few times, and I was a WWE mark. I really didn't know anything else or care about anything else. So I remember when he first showed up as the real world's champion. And it's funny enough that that's what got me interested in WCW. Was seeing that, hey, there's another belt, there's another league, I'm going to watch this stuff. Like, I knew that, the territories and that stuff, but I wasn't really that into it. So, this was the first time that I saw something other than WWF. So it's kind of funny that it was kind of did the opposite of what they wanted to happen.
Right. And I was with Ric Flair too, growing up. You didn't see much WCW, NWA. I was I'm an older gentleman, I'm almost 50. But everything that you saw was like in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I used to get Pro Wrestling Illustrated every month, so on and so forth. And awesome. Going through it and then seeing all these guys, even from WCW or even coming beforehand, right? It's Ric Flair was always the name that you always seen in the magazine type thing, right? From years past. So from him going into WWE, then I think it was about a year and a half later, winning the Royal Rumble. Absolutely incredible and a great thing to see, especially being a Ric Flair fan. Previous to that, of course, the Four Horsemen. It was fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, man, my older cousin gave me a big pile of those old PWI magazines. And they used to have the rankings for each championship, like AWA, and like going all the pretty deep down, like Memphis when they were USWA. And it was a good era to be a wrestling fan for sure.
Right. Because here again, we more or less had on Saturdays we had Maple Leaf Gardens Wrestling, and other like really crummy ones like All Star Wrestling. But seeing it, and when the Royal Rumble first started, it was almost like WrestleMania, right? Like a big event. And it's WrestleMania and Royal Rumble are pretty close on my favorite event of the year. Those are the two I make sure I definitely for sure watch live.
That's what everyone has been saying, and that's what we've been saying for a really long time, that it's hard to differentiate between the two. Like, I think as an event, Royal Rumble is my favorite, but the spectacle, the season finale of wrestling is always WrestleMania. And, having Royal Rumble as the kickoff to the road to WrestleMania, it just works. It's probably the best 3-4 months of wrestling in the year that WWE gives us. Like, it is what it is.
Right. And like Pat Patterson started off with the Royal Rumble, the road to WrestleMania, the story, right? I'm a big story guy. So the road to WrestleMania and the stories that you see, or who is this person going to fight, like which champ, so on and so forth, is good to see, right? It's really, really good to see. Especially nowadays when Matthew, especially nowadays when storylines are going so quick and consistent, it's good to see a build, right? So.
I couldn't agree more. And the Royal Rumble is so perfect for that because they have so many moving pieces, so many different storylines playing out at once. That's a big part of what makes this event so special, for sure. But enough about what's so great about it. Before we let you go, what do you think is your single least favorite or worst memory of the Royal Rumble? What is the worst spot, the thing that just angered you the most?
Angered me the most? I don't know so much on anger. Hang on, let me think. I remember what the funniest thing I ever saw was when
do tell.
When Titus went underneath the ring. I remember that. But angers me the most probably that year that everybody wanted Daniel Bryan to win. Yeah. Right? And everybody had that you wanted Daniel Bryan to win. I was just watching too well, especially with Roman, when the stuff with Roman, he didn't win that year. And then remember the Batista?
Oh, yeah.
When Batista won and the child crant. And I just finished watching this week, actually, A Day in the Life of, or whatever that WWE documentary type thing. And they showed that day in the life of Batista. And where everybody was, when Rey Mysterio came in, I think 29, and everybody was booing. Right? Yeah. Or was 30? Was it 30?
He was 30.
Yeah, it was 30. So everybody was booing, and then you hear Batista. They had the mic the ring mic on, and he's like, I just want to go home. You know what I mean? Even after he won. So yeah, that's probably the biggest disappointment, because again, Royal Rumble, as of late, I wouldn't say in the past, as of late, it seems like they're trying to do the opposite of what people really want, except for like this year's a prime example. Everybody wanted Edge to win. Like even the odds in Vegas are saying Edge was going to win. And Bianca, right? Everybody like wants to see somebody win, and they're finally putting them over. I think they're reacting, I guess, to what fans want to see a little more, which is a little better. And I'm not saying it has to happen every time too, but there was a lot of times that WWE swerved away from that, and it's whatever they wanted to happen. And that's probably the disappointing part, right? That's the only disappointment I have in it. The Royal Rumble is always a great event. It's always a great, in most part, always a great match. And it's always something that somebody looks forward to. It's an hour long. Like a lot of people get upset sometimes watching a 60-man Iron Man match, right? But this, you have to think, is over an hour long normally, right? And people are always intrigued, thinking, who's next? Who's going to win? What's going to go? What title he's going to fight for, or she going to fight for now, right? So disappointments. Back to the disappointments. I think definitely is when the fans are wanting somebody to win, or you're expecting them to win, or hopefully get a push, or they're overlooking. That's probably the biggest disappointment.
Yeah, and we went through a few years of that, but I would say that the past, 3, they've really done a great job, and we've been seeing some different creative matches. Great booking. Like, say what you want. We talked about this. We're going to talk about this on the show, and last year's with Brock Lesnar. It's something that will never happen again, but it was good to see that one time, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, like, I'm not the biggest. I love Brock Lesnar years past, and when they brought him back and he's going through the run, I haven't been as big fan of them. I like watching wrestling. Like I like watching a 20-minute wrestling match, right? But him coming in last year and doing that first 15 type thing, that was absolutely incredible. That's brilliant to do. And then putting Drew over Brock like that was the best for both characters. Right? Absolutely. Brock doesn't need a belt. He's a beast, right? Putting Drew over as the guy that's bigger than Brock, finally for a change, like almost like a passing of the torch, right? Like Undertaker did with Brock, is definitely good to see. So you're right. Yeah, the last 3 years, I actually think since when they did give Daniel Bryan that one push too, it's been a lot better compared to years before that.
I think so, and I'm glad you touched on that Drew McIntyre thing specifically, because it's one thing to just do a spot in the Royal Rumble where Brock Lesnar kills everyone because it's cool, but they actually immediately did something with it and built a new character through it, so I think that was really good as well. But thank you for coming by. Where can we see more of you, and what are you doing in the next coming weeks?
All right, well, yeah, you can definitely go follow us on the Dark Side of the Elite. You can see us on Apple and Spotify. Just look up Dark Side of the Elite. You also can follow our Facebook page, Dark Side of the Elite and We the Dark Order North, and on YouTube, both of the same names. And I guess we have something big coming up in the next couple of weeks, guys? Are we allowed to say anything yet?
You can talk about it. You can tell people what it is and what it's going to be and what the basic premise is.
Let that cat out of the bag.
All right. Well, fantastic. The Dark Side of the Elite team up with the best NXT talkers that are out there. NXT Talk, Boris and Matthew, and we are going to do a show called All Elite Takeover. It's going to be incredible. We're going to review both products. Again, we more or less do AEW. They do NXT and AEW as well. I hear your podcast. It's absolutely amazing. And we're going to say what's the best and possibly the worst scenarios for both promotions each month. We'll do it once a month and go through it. And at the end, I believe we'll get the people to comment and say whatever was the better promotion or whatever they like most at the end of it. So go follow us as well on Facebook at All Elite Takeover. You can look it up. The group is slowly growing, but come and join and listen to us coming to TBA, but TBA announced at the end of the month, roughly. All right, guys, and thank you again for having me on.
Thank you so much. And that's right, All Elite Takeover coming at you soon. Justin Zane, 66, thank you so much. We'll chat soon.
Thanks for coming by, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Well, let's keep this train going. Match number 39. CM Punk versus The Rock, WWE title, Royal Rumble 2013 from Phoenix,
Underrated match.
Phoenix, Arizona. I agree, underrated match. We had the corpse of JBL and Jerry Lawler calling this match, so it wasn't the great call that a match of this stature necessarily warranted. They worked very hard. There was a lot of shenanigans. The lights went out. The Shield supposedly interfered, but we didn't actually see it, so who knows, but it was definitely the Shield. And yeah, they restart the match after CM Punk wins, the classic dusty finish. The Rock goes home with the title. Everybody goes home happy. It was the main event of the show. What did you think? You said an underrated match?
This, in my opinion, this one was underrated. I think this Rock run was overall pretty underrated. Like, people, I don't think people understand about like how big The Rock was at this point and how many eyes it got on the product.
Absolutely.
You know, I think us as wrestling fans sometimes we look inwards into our own world. We don't realize the outside world. Good example of this, Bad Bunny. Do you understand how popular this man is?
I actually don't. I'm not great with new music. I'm a fucking old young gun, Boris. But yeah, no, I'm not familiar with the works of Bad Bunny. But I did bring up to, like, in a group chat, like, oh, Bad Bunny is performing. And my friend was like, oh, shit, he's really popular.
He's super popular. He's the most over act in Puerto Rico. It's insane. And the entire Latin world. So this is like a perfect combination for WWE. And I guess my point is like sometimes we don't realize how big certain things are because we're in the wrestling world and we know The Rock as The Rock. Yeah, I understand that people do see him as a super mega star as wrestling fans, but I don't think people realize how huge this was because you had a Hollywood stud,
Dwayne Johnson,
you know, winning the belt.
Yes.
Carrying your belt.
For a good of a chunk of time, a couple months here. Yeah.
A quarter of a year.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, no, and it was The Rock's first big match in a long time, and I think he delivered. CM Punk obviously did a great job, and it was laid out extremely well, despite the fact that the lights went out and big old schmoz happened. Good match, number 39 on our list. Moving on, a little two Royal Rumble back-to-back pack here coming at you. Number 38 and number 37. Number 38, the first Women's Royal Rumble 2018. And number 37, the most recent Men's Royal Rumble from the Thunderdome, Royal Rumble 2021. So that's 38, the 2018 Women's Royal Rumble, 37, the 2021 Men's Royal Rumble. Any qualms? Any suggestions?
No, you know what? I gotta say, with the Women's Rumble, I expected the worst. I'll be honest. That first Women's Rumble, I was not expecting a clean match. I was not expecting anything from this. And not to take away from women's wrestling. I think women's wrestling is fantastic. But if you looked at the roster at the time, you know, it just wasn't adding up. It's WWE. You know, Stephanie invented women's wrestling. So
Stephanie actually comes down to do color commentary in this match. Who should note?
Yes. And the fact that this Women's Rumble was missing Charlotte, you know, that's a huge thing.
It's a really good call. And and they delivered a really good match, very entertaining, worthy of the first Women's Royal Rumble. I think the right person won for sure. I think the surprise entrants were, good enough, exciting enough, surprising enough. And Stephanie McMahon, God bless her, she held her own on commentary.
All right. Let's take a look at this. 2018, Asuka wins.
Yes.
2019, her and Becky.
Yeah.
2020, her and Becky. Yeah. 2021, okay, it was what it was. But I'm just
I like it. I think the Women's Rumble's in a good place. I think the right women is won every year. I really do. I think all 4 women are going to be great wrestlers for a long time. I don't think there's anything to be embarrassed about. I'm really liking the Women's Rumble so far. I think it's 4 for 4.
Yep, and I agree. And specifically to the Asuka thing,
Yes.
I think that people forget how much they've given her, right?
Yeah.
Like,
The last 2 weeks have been bad.
yes, the last 2 weeks have been bad, and there have been bad kind of months here and there, bad stretches, but overall, I think she's done fantastic. Much better than Kenta or anyone else. That's come
Hideo
over.
Tommy,
But
many.
he was riddled.
Yes.
Matt riddled with injuries, right? So
Dear sweet Kyrie saying, "Oh my God, I loved her so much. She was so good. I hate Nia
she
Jax with every inch of my being."
I know, but
Not
and
really. I don't hate her.
but the men's rumble,
Yes.
this year. I know we touched on this. I know I said I would come back to it, so we're gonna come back to it, and that is the fact this age discrepancy, this age issue.
Yes, the age discrepancy. Yes, or age decrepancy.
Discrepancy. Jesus Christ, Boris.
No, I think you accidentally hit the nail on the head there.
That was my
They
ESL,
were
too.
fucking decrepit.
That was my ESL too. But
That's fair.
it's like, who else at this point, right? Who else has the star power?
Oh yeah, it was literally him, Daniel Bryan, or Big E. And I understand the story. It looks like, and perhaps I'm wrong, but just because Omos eliminated him, I think we're getting AJ versus Big E, or AJ and Omos, and maybe someone else versus New Day. I think that's going to be the WrestleMania thing, and I'm for it. If it's Big E versus AJ, awesome. They can have a really good match. It'll make Big E look strong, and Big E will definitely go over.
As long as Christian gets that chance at Big E that he deserved.
Ah!
How many years ago?
The Intercontinental title shot that he earned and then retired.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, I feel you on that. Super for it. Great fucking pull, by the way. Anyway, yes. So I like this match a lot. I think they set up a lot of things. It's really hard to do a Royal Rumble without fans, Boris. Jeez. You know what I mean?
I was skeptical the entire time. I knew they would pull it off. The past few Rumbles have been really good. And I think that this one was good. I think this one was well booked. I think that in the grand scheme of things, the right person won.
Yep.
Unfortunately, yes, you can create stars, but it's hard to create a star at Royal Rumble. I feel that Royal Rumble is the place to give an established star the win. And then, unfortunately, we don't have this event anymore, but the King of the Ring would be an event where someone new comes up, right? Like, remember back in the mid-90s, King of the Ring, your up-and-coming guy won, Royal Rumble, the next big thing won.
Yeah, I understand that logic. I think you can do it. Actually, my roommate, who's a casual wrestling fan, doesn't watch it too much. He brought up a really interesting idea. He said, have they ever had an NXT wrestler actually win the Royal Rumble? And I think that would be a really cool way to call somebody up. They come to NXT, they win the title, they can choose whatever brand they're on, they're going to fight that champion, that would put somebody over huge. I'd love to see that. I think there are ways to make the Royal Rumble create a new star. They don't always do it, but there are. Sometimes there's the John Cena versus Batista. Sometimes there's the Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. Boris,
Yeah.
I think they do it sometimes.
And sometimes Baron Corbin just needs to get his main event spot.
How do you like Baron Corbin more than Cody Rhodes? That doesn't make fucking any sense. I refuse to accept that.
You don't even know if I do or don't. You don't know if this is an act. You don't know if this is a thing.
I'm tired of this heel persona, Boris. Be real with me. We're podcast partners. No, okay. Moving on. The final match in the 3 3/4 out of 5 elimination
Baron
tiers.
Corbin and who?
Get the fuck out of here, for the love of God. The final match in 3 3/4. The final very good, but not quite great match. And this one was, to me, the single hardest match on the list to rate.
I know exactly what it is.
This
now.
is where I went with it. I couldn't call it a great match in my heart. I just couldn't. But I couldn't call it anything less than this because it was so compelling. Such a fucking gripping piece of television. It's Mankind versus The Rock. I Quit. WWF title. Royal Rumble 1999.
This match is a classic. Not only is it classic because of WWE and WWF, whatever you want to call them, and everything that it brought, the storytelling of this match. The match itself, and just the brutality of it. But what I think really added to this match as a wrestling fan is Beyond the Mat.
Yes, absolutely. And Mankind's book also added a ton to this match. Because they told the whole story of his plan, how it kind of veered off plan, his original idea for the finish, what they went with the finish, his frustrations with the match and the finish, his frustrations with The Rock, who fucking almost murdered this man legitimately to fucking death in this match. It was crazy. There are more than one occasion on this match. There's more than one occasion in this match where Mankind turns around. He's very clearly giving The Rock his back, quote unquote. He's saying to The Rock, hit me in the back with a chair. And The Rock either turns around, runs around him, or waits for him to turn around. He just refuses to hit him in the back, and he fucking brains him in the head again and again.
I feel like this was also a case of The Rock being so green. Like,
Yes.
let's remember, The Rock learned how to wrestle in 1995.
Yeah.
This is 1999. The Rock has not gone through death matches.
Yes.
You know?
He's not. Yeah, he's very. Although he grew up in the business, he's very new to the wrestling aspect of it, and he's trying very hard to get himself over. He's finally the world champ. He's finally at that level. He's got to be a badass. He's got to look tough. He's wrapped up in the moment. And I'm not saying that The Rock is a bad person. Obviously, he's a great person. Look at him, but he fucked up here. He fucked up
big
bad
time.
here. Oh,
Big
yeah.
time.
Like this was this is disgusting watching this back. It's a gripping piece of television, and Mankind gives and gives to this business, and he gave so much for this match. But I can't look myself in the mirror and call it great. You know what I mean? Like it's a disgusting piece of television in a lot of ways.
It really is. But it was, and this is the thing. This is where we're like, we're sick fucks because this match is just so good at the end of the day.
You can't watch this and say it's not gripping. It's not entertaining at the very least. And you know what else? Michael Cole does a great job in this match, I dare say. It's before Vince McMahon beat the soul out of him. And I think I think Michael Cole was better in 1999 than he is now.
100%.
All right. So, that is the end of that tier. We're moving on to a new tier. So from this point forward, we have hit 4 out of 5 eliminations, Boris. These matches going forward are at least 80%. They are great matches. They are at least an A, but these ones are an A- if you want to be a dick about it.
All right.
So,
I know which matches are left in the pool of matches. I know we're getting close.
It'll be fun.
And I'm going to start questioning our friendship and our partnership soon.
All right, well, we'll see. Number 35, the inaugural Royal Rumble 1988. I thought they did a really good job with it. They've tried this concept before on house shows. It was apparently a disaster. It did not get over. It did not go well. They took a shot at the dark here. They put it against the Bunkhouse Stampede in 1988. Such a rousing success that 34 years later, we're here talking about it, Boris.
Yeah, and what a concept. The fact that it was on free TV for the first year, the fact that it was, counter-programming, the fact that it was this whatever crazy idea that Pat Patterson wanted or, got the green light to do. It's amazing to think that, 34 years, here we are still talking about that one night in Hamilton.
Yes. But what a great idea for Pat Patterson. Rest in peace to the great Pat Patterson. Thank you for supplying us with this beautiful Royal Rumble. And shout out to Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the inaugural winner. Number 34, the 2020 Women's Royal Rumble match. Minute Maid Park, Houston, Texas.
Yes.
This was won by Charlotte Flair. Really, really good little Royal Rumble.
Yeah, this one was a lot of fun. I gotta say, the Women's Royal Rumble always makes me nervous, just because you never know what's gonna happen, right? Like, I find that with women's matches, if they're too overbooked, things tend to go wrong.
Wonky.
Wonky,
If
yes.
you will.
And I'm trying so hard not to say the wrong things right now, but you know exactly what I mean, right? Like, it's
I feel
like
you.
they're very competent. They're very good. They know what they're doing. They're better than us as we drink our beers.
You can
and
hear
booze.
my drink clinking in
Yeah.
the background throughout
Exactly,
this podcast
you know.
as we go further.
We know nothing. We're Jon Snows right now. But, it always makes me nervous with these overbooked matches and the women. But they've always been able to pull these off.
Yeah,
And successfully.
absolutely. The Royal Rumbles especially. Like, I don't think there's been a bad women's Royal Rumble yet. I think we're, like I said, I think we're 4 for 4. And, this was a really good one. Quite enjoyed it. Great wrestling match. Moving on, number 33, number Patrick Roy, number Larry Bird. Patrick Roy, sorry. Number 33, the 1990 Royal Rumble match from Orlando, Florida. Star-studded affair, much like the 89 one. Much better. Very, very entertaining. A lot of managers in the outside. This was the first and perhaps only year that all the managers were allowed to be outside. A lot of fun. Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura on the call. Quite enjoyed this match, Boris.
Yeah, although this is the one Royal Rumble where they issued managers, licenses, and permits.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
why they were out there. But the important thing, and something that I want to talk about, and I thought this would be higher, to be honest, it's because of that legendary showdown with the final two.
Yes. Well, it wasn't. Well, we talked about this briefly before in another podcast, but yes. So the final two of this match was Mr. Perfect versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Not yet Hollywood Hulk Hogan, but yes, yeah. So we've go back to our Survivor Series podcast to listen about our thoughts on the whole Hulk Hogan, Mr. Perfect thing. But yeah, I think there's a great argument to be had that Mr. Perfect should have won the title from Hulk Hogan, possibly even at WrestleMania 6. That was not a thing that they would ever do. They were never going to push Mr. Perfect to the level he deserved to be pushed. There was also another legendary showdown in this Royal Rumble, which was, of course, Hogan and the Warrior face-to-face, which is a blueprint that they've copied on maybe almost every single Royal Rumble, if not like more often than not, they do like the two big stars face off against each other. Oh my God, the crowd, what are they going to do?
See, the thing is, this is the era, pre-93, was the era where your champion could have been part of the Rumble.
Yeah, absolutely. And it made sense to do that. And
I love how I say that, because literally 88, 89, 90 were the only years that this was possible. 91, they had a match.
Yeah.
And then 92
the champ was,
the belt was...
Yeah. In 92, the champ was... Yeah, the belt was the match, the Royal Rumble match, was for the WWF title. But what I was mixing up thoughts, because in 2000 and, 16, they did the same exact gimmick. And then Brock Lesnar entered number one with the WWE title. Spoiler, that happened as well. We'll talk about that later, Boris. Okay, so moving on. We have a little cruiserweight double pack for you coming here. Number 32, Neville versus Rich Swann.
Who?
Pac. No, that's Neville versus Rich Swann. This is potential. You might see this down the road. AEW versus TNA crossover.
Literally about to say this. It's like, watch us see this rematch in a couple weeks, couple months, whatever.
It's possible. Neville versus Rich Swann. And 31, Akira Tozawa versus Buddy Murphy versus Hideo Itami versus Kalisto. From the Royal Rumble 2019 pre-show.
Yes. That match, honestly, yeah, maybe one of the best matches of that night.
Yeah, definitely high on the list. These, in the era where the cruiserweights were on the show but not on the show, you know what I mean? They were not quite given any real chance to succeed. They were just slotted hard and firm in the opening / pre-show position. They still had a chance to shine somewhat. They still took the opportunity to be on TV and work very, very hard. These are two examples of really good cruiserweight matches that stood out in the abyss.
Yep.
You know, when they didn't take them seriously. But yeah, I really like Neville and Rich Swann especially. The crowd was not with it at first, and they fucking willed them into it. They really worked so hard that you can see them, like, with every move. It was like a little percentage, more and more and more got into it. And then the Fatal 4-Way match was just a crazy spot fest. It was, in terms of WWE, one of the crazier spot fests I can actually think of. Honestly, go back and watch it. You'd be surprised. They do a lot of crazy shit in this match. That's Akira Tozawa versus Buddy Murphy versus Itami versus Kalisto in the 2019 pre-show. I'm telling you, crazy spot fest for WWE standards anyway.
Yep.
All right, so we're in the top 30 now, Boris. Here we go. This is another one that I'm holding near and dear to my heart. Might only be myself. Tell me if I'm wrong, Boris. Number 30, Mr. McMahon versus Ric Flair street fight. Royal Rumble 2002. Inarguably, my opinion, a great match. Storyline driven. The hatred. Vince McMahon, Ric Flair, it's not a technical masterpiece, but Vince McMahon takes a camera from Ashley Flair, the future Charlotte Flair, takes a picture of her bloody father and gives it back to her. Is that not great pro wrestling? Are you not entertained, Boris?
Dude, honestly, this match was one of those matches I remember even back then. because remember, this was Flair's second run with the company. This was Flair, over the hill.
Yes.
Here we are, 20 years later. 20 years later.
Yes, but he was visibly over the hill 20 years ago. He's 75.
But this was such a good run of Flair.
Oh, yeah.
And I found that this program was so good because this led into just so many great programs between the two, which eventually led into the brand split.
Yeah, absolutely. And
in the middle of that was Undertaker and Ric Flair.
Yeah, also a really good little feud. Undertaker, David Flair promo backstage where he beats him up. One of the greats of all time.
The one time we saw David Flair.
WWE TV. But yeah, this was the original brand split was the best instance of the brand split by far. It was the most serious that they took it. The draft was the most sports-like.
It's not, and I feel like a dumbass for saying this sometimes, and I hate being critical of the talent because they do the best that they can. But there is something to be said about how serious the talent took it back then compared to now.
That makes sense. I see that. There's really
And I'm not trying to be an Undertaker right now. I'm just trying to say that, the talent legitimately wanted to be the better show.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that. And there was a difference between the shows, too. Raw was more promo and more storyline, and SmackDown was more in-ring wrestling and, more of the athletic aspect.
Yeah, the issue now is that at the end of the day, no wrestling show should be 3 hours.
No.
Like TV.
Oh, my God. No. Absolutely not. Pay-per-views. Or podcasts. Moving on. Number 29. The most recent match in this here great match list. The match of the night, in my opinion, of the most recent Royal Rumble. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, the last man standing. It was en route to being even better, but the finish was just really bad.
A lot of people didn't like this. So tell me, Matt, what was it about this match that you really enjoyed?
Kevin Owens died for our sins. He worked so very hard. These guys have incredible chemistry. Spoiler alert, we're going to see Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns again later on this list, Boris. These guys work incredibly well together. This was very, very well done. I think Kevin Owens did everything he possibly could to have gotten a good match out of an empty arena setting.
Yeah.
He lived up. You felt the hatred that the story was telling. You know what I mean? There was no chance that Kevin Owens possibly could win. And really, if you want WrestleMania to be a good show, you kind of don't want Kevin Owens to win this match because Roman Reigns is the big star. But every wrestling fan was cheering for Kevin Owens here because they told the story so well. He was fighting for his family. I just think it worked. It gripped me anyway. And Kevin Owens takes about 3 or 4 insane bumps in this match. Insane. Wrestling fans need to be a little more appreciative sometimes, perhaps.
100%. 100%. Here's the thing about this match. The last 5 minutes really ruined it for me.
Yes.
You saw the ending coming a mile away.
Yep.
You saw even the ref bump. Paul Heyman didn't help.
No.
With the botch of the cups.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, so Paul Heyman is they handcuff Roman Reigns to a stanchion, some kind of thing, and Roman Reigns is handcuffed too close to the bottom so he can't stand up. The ref's counting him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he has to stop and pretend he's looking at a bird in the sky because he can't quite, yeah. So it's worth noting that the finish of this match was horrendous.
Yep. And for me, I'm being consistent because on Wednesdays, we often talk about the ending of a particular match, hurting a match. Yeah. So, I'm surprised that you rated this as high as you did. But consider just literally the blood, sweat, and tears that both guys gave to this match.
They worked so hard. Kevin Owens got ran over by a fucking golf cart. And I've heard people say it was treated like comedy or something. If that was your read of it, that's fine. That was not my read of it. I screamed. I was like, oh my God, is he okay? I
sent you this text, and I'm going to say it now. He did it for The Rock.
Yeah.
What is it about these Samoans and vehicular homicide?
Oh my God, he did it for the people. Yes, but I thought they worked hard, and I would have rated it even higher, Boris. I'll tell you that much. Had it not been for the bad finish.
One last note.
Yes.
Now that we're talking about Kevin Owens.
Yes.
Kevin Owens to me, and I feel weird making this comparison, but stay with me.
Uh-oh.
You said he's the wrestler's wrestler.
Uh-oh.
It's not William Regal, because that's man's man.
Yeah.
Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Chris Benoit about Kevin Owens.
Yeah, there's not as much Dynamite Kid aping as Chris Benoit had, but he's like, I see what you mean. He's like, he's Canadian. He's a fucking fighter. He's real. But you know what? Kevin Owens is way more charismatic than Benoit ever was.
Oh, 100%. That's honestly, for me, for the longest time, what held Benoit back. Even when he was champion, I'll never forget the night after WrestleMania 20, and they let him open Raw with a promo. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, enough Benoit talk.
Yes, we'll get to more later, I'm sure. So, that was 29. Moving on, number 28, Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor, Royal Rumble 2019. Balor versus the Beast. Do you remember this one?
Oh, this is honestly one of my, if not my favorite Balor match in WWE.
Yeah, I think so. Finn Balor looked really good.
Not only did he look really good, this was, I feel like a dumbass making these comparisons sometimes, but this is your Taka Michinoku versus Triple H.
Yes.
Your
For
Chris
the next
Jericho getting the fake win against Triple H scenario, where you were convinced for at least a few moments that this guy is going to beat Brock Lesnar.
There's a specific spot where Brock Lesnar runs into the corner of the announce table. Finn's got him worked over, and then Finn's got him like he's going to set him up for the double stomp, and Brock rolls to the middle of the ring, so it's like, oh, he's gotten away from it. And then Finn Balor gives him the fucking double stomp from the top rope all the way to the middle of the ring, and it's disgusting, and the entire place thinks that Finn's going to win the world title. That's
as Corey Graves would say, his cut the grass.
Yes, his cup de grace. Yes, not at all close. Anyway, the coup de grace. But yeah, very, very good little fucking match. A great wrestling match. A great performance from both guys. I would like to see it again.
Here's the thing about Lesnar. Lesnar is so underrated by the fans.
Yeah.
It's people don't want to like him. They don't realize that how good he actually is. Not only as a wrestler, but for the business.
Oh yeah, for sure. He helps tremendously. I think he's going to age better than he is taken right now. People will appreciate him more when he's gone, and they will. Yeah. He'll be a Hall of Famer, rightfully so.
Gone as a wrestler.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to get morbid there. Moving on entirely.
Because the reason why I'm being very specific about things is because we were just listening. We took a break. We had some food. And we were listening to Alvarez. And Alvarez, when he podcasts, he does't use the best verbiage. He doesn't explain things properly. And he can sound very wrong sometimes.
Just full clarifications.
Yeah, so I'm trying to be as clear and concise as humanly possible on a podcast. Anyways, continue. Sorry, Matt.
And also set up the future Matt and Boris versus Brian and Vinny tag team match. Moving on. Number 27. This is number Alex Kovalev. Asuka versus Becky Lynch won SmackDown Women's Title Royal Rumble 2019. The superior Asuka versus Becky match, really good. Hard hitting, straightforward, no nonsense. I think it's probably the best match of the 2019 Royal Rumble. Proper pay-per-view opener. Do you remember this one, Boris? How do you feel about it?
100% I remember this one. I remember because I was in Oakville watching this with my little nephew, my big brother. We were watching as a family, and I'm like, wow, this is a good match. But I'll be honest, I've been an Asuka mark since she showed up at WWE. I saw some of her earlier work post her signing, post her turning into Asuka, but this is just this match was so good.
Top
and
level.
I love the storytelling here because it was the whole Becky Lynch is done, right?
Yeah, it was Becky Lynch's big rise. Becky Lynch is gonna beat Asuka and go to WrestleMania, and she's so popular and this and that. But you know what? No, Asuka was too good. Nobody, in fact, Boris, was ready for the great Asuka in 2019 anyway. Moving on, number 26. We're entering a little last man standing pack here. Number 26, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. World Heavyweight title, last man standing match, 2004. One of the rare last man standing matches that goes to a draw.
Yeah, I got to say, these two don't have in-ring chemistry together against each other.
What? You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Huh. Because I don't want to give away a future list or anything, but I think my favorite match ever is a Triple H versus Shawn Michaels match. Ever in the history of wrestling.
Really?
I really do.
Damn.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe It's just the way that I see it. But I've always found that they work better together when they're on the same side as opposed to against each other.
That's interesting. I would say the opposite. I think I like them much better as opponents than as teammates.
Sometimes we have to agree to disagree.
Yes, sir.
I think Baron Corbin is the man. You do not.
I am a rational human being with a brain and beating heart inside of my chest.
I gotta drop this heel gimmick. It's not even a gimmick. It's like
you do actually hate Cody Rhodes and want to fight him, but no, that's not for real. That part's a gimmick. But I think Triple H and Shawn Michaels, this was not my favorite match in the history of wrestling. This was number 26 on the Royal Rumble list. But it was a good match. Last man standing. They worked hard. A little self-indulgent, but that's Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
I thought you were talking about Cody for a second. I'm sorry.
Come on. Can we play?
So I gotta make some edits.
Not this one, though. This stays in. Number 25, Alberto Del Rio versus The Big Show, last man standing. From Royal Rumble 2013. We don't need to go through Alberto Del Rio again. This was a really good match. Slightly hurt by the fact that they had the exact same match on Friday, and then they just had it again on Sunday. Yep. But you know what? When you're going back and watching these things, you don't see the match on Friday, and guess what? This one was still very good, too.
Yep, so, I agree.
Great match. Number 25 on our list. Moving on to number 24 on our list. Also last man standing. Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens for the Intercontinental title. Royal Rumble 2016. Awesome fucking match. They beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah. Man, what I wouldn't give to see these two fight outside of WWE.
Yeah. I would love to see both Adam Cole and or Kevin Owens in AEW, just because they were so intertwined with everyone who's in AEW now when they were all in PWG. They were so together. They were so part of, like, Kevin Owens would do commentary all the time in PW, and he was so fucking funny. He was so good.
If anyone can catch those videos, whether it be on YouTube or DVDs, watch Kevin Owens on commentary.
Anytime there was a 6-man tag that Kevin Owens was calling, or any kind of match that Kevin Owens was calling. Chuck Taylor also was really good on PWG commentary, but Kevin Owens was the best.
The best team, Excalibur and Kevin Owens.
Yes. Awesome chemistry. Yeah, great. One of the greatest commentary teams of the decade, of the 2010s. Yes.
The Knots,
indeed. But yeah, so that was number 24. Sticking with the gimmick match aspect, but no longer a last man standing. We're going to the greatest casket match in the history of wrestling, Boris, number 23 on our list.
I haven't seen your list. Is it Michaels?
Of course.
Undertaker?
Of course.
Okay.
Number 23, Royal Rumble 1998. Go back and watch this thing. It's really good. And they even do a little callback to 1994. A shitload of guys run in. But guess what? Kane comes and he saves his brother. Oh, what a moment. And then Kane turns on him and sets his brother on fire.
Yes.
But yeah, and also Shawn Michaels breaks his back and leaves the business for 4 years. Other than those two things, great match though. No, but this is actually an incredible wrestling match.
This is one of those matches where it was a schmoz. Anytime there's a schmoz, I always think of Joe from SNME, our buddy. And I'm like, oh, he's gonna hate this, or am I really enjoying this? But this is one of those schmozes that actually worked.
Yeah, it told the story they needed to tell. Set up a number of different things. Shawn Michaels continued to, like, not deserve the title, but be that champion you fucking hated. And if only there was a true hero to come back and take him away. And it also set up Kane and Undertaker, perfectly. They had yet to actually wrestle, and now Kane is actually setting this guy on fire. Like, it was some crazy cheesy Vince Russo shit, but this is what we're getting in 1998.
Yeah, because this was around the time, remember, you have to remember the storyline where Undertaker refused to wrestle his brother.
Yes.
So so Kane kept doing worse and worse and worse and worse to the Undertaker.
And on the Monday Night Raw prior to this, it was the first time that there was actually some kind of bonding between Undertaker and Kane. There's a famous Jim Ross call. Oh, what a moment! When Kane does the Undertaker pose and the Undertaker does it back to Kane and the pyro goes off. Yeah, it's very, very entertaining.
I remember. I remember this so well. And yeah, it's just, these types of brother versus brother things, for me, always mean so much more because I do have a brother.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will
right?
always side with the little brother.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Absolutely. I feel like I am the big brother, so fuck you. No, I'm just kidding.
Between Edge and Christian, who's the little brother?
I believe that's really funny. I believe in kayfabe Christian is, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah. Maybe it should probably. I don't know. That's funny. I think Edge is the older brother in kayfabe, but because they're not real brothers, it's hard to say. I don't know if they ever established that. Are they twins?
Yeah.
They'd still be an older brother. They didn't come out sideways together. I don't know. Anyway, moving on forever.
They were brooding along.
Ho, 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 ho. All right. Match number 22. I'm telling you, though, this was the greatest casket match. Number 23, greatest casket match in the history of wrestling. There will never be a better one. Actually, there may have been a better one in Lucha Underground. There may have been a better one in Lucha Underground. Mil Muertes was involved. We'll relitigate that at another time. This is the Royal Rumble list, and we're heading to number 22. Boris, the 2005 Royal Rumble match, number 22. From the Save Mart Center in Fresno, California, it was the John Cena versus Batista match. It was where Vince McMahon fucking exploded his quads running into the ring to save things.
So, let's recap this match and this ending in particular.
Yes, sir.
They botched this.
Yes. Yes, yeah, they did. It was not good. There was a number of botches. Vince McMahon blew 2 of his quads out. Obviously, things didn't go well. Yeah. This was not going according to plan. But
Like, not only did the match end nowhere near the script, but you had an incensed Vince McMahon coming up trying to restart the match. But what I do love about this, and you kind of had a feeling that this wasn't the end that was planned. So I love the fact, this is where and why referees are so important.
Yeah.
We talk about commentary. We talk about the wrestlers. We talk about the crowd. But we never talk about the referees and how important of a part they can play. And in this instance is why they're so important. Because I love the fact that the Raw referees were trying to say, hey, our guy won.
Yep.
The SmackDown referees were saying, no, our guy won.
It was definitely a good little improv and a good way to kill time while Vince McMahon was figuring out what the fuck do we do here. And again, like before this botch, this was a really good, very, very entertaining Royal Rumble. I think most of the people who I've ever read reviews or heard talk about this match have considered it one of the best Royal Rumbles. I certainly agree. You can tell it's 22.
It's not the greatest Royal Rumble.
It is certainly not the greatest Royal Rumble. Also, we were just mentioning now that there's no Saudi Arabian matches in this list. I'm sorry if you didn't notice. But yeah, those don't count. Saudi shows are not in canon.
Apparently they are, because they mentioned that greatest Rumble a lot on Sunday.
They actually did. They do count it. Maybe later, maybe in a year or two, I'll add the Saudi Rumbles to this list. But yeah, fuck that anyway. So yeah, 2005 Royal Rumble, good match, number 22 on our list.
All right.
Number 21 on our list, and the final match in this tier of 4 out of 5 elimination great matches. The final match in this tier, the 2002 Royal Rumble match, Phillips Arena, Atlanta, Georgia, won by Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the evil.
So,
no, actually, the good, returning from evil.
Do you remember when Helmsley returned?
Yes.
A week, like the Monday before this match, and he was this, even Scott Steiner looked small compared to him.
Absolutely, he was absolutely fucking yoked when he came back, wearing a leather jacket with a denim vest over top because he didn't give a shit about anything. But Triple H coming back.
The biggest return, and unfortunately, that match at WrestleMania, it was a good match. We'll talk about it some other day, but all I'm going to say is that I wish that match went on earlier in the night, and it should have been swapped with another match.
100%. And I think anyone who knows a little bit about that knows exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, the 2002 Royal Rumble, very good. Shocking appearance by Mr. Perfect. And it was funny because we were watching with my my older cousin who didn't really like wrestling too much, but he was a big sports fan, and the one wrestler he loved was Mr. Perfect because he did those vignettes with all the athletes, and he was a great athlete, and that was his whole gimmick. So when he was watching with us and Mr. Perfect came back, he about shit his pants because such a fun moment.
Listen, internet wrestling community, sometimes the Royal Rumble is a perfect time to bring back legends, superstars of yesteryear, because this relaunched Mr. Perfect's career for a few months.
And they could have gotten way more out of it than they did, because it was a classic example of the fans appreciating a wrestler more than Vince McMahon did at the time. I'm worried that, like, John Morrison has fallen into a similar thing at this point. I'm worried Carlito might fall into a similar thing if he comes back.
I feel like Carlito is in this boat already, because I've always felt that fans liked him a lot more than the company.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if rumor and innuendo, as Bruce Pritchard would say, is true, it's Carlito who held Carlito back, right?
Yeah, true. That's what. Yeah. Well, if he says it must be true. He's brother love, after all. Moving on. So the next tier, Boris, these are 4.25 star matches. These are matches that are somewhere between great and classic. I think 4.5 is 90%. That's an indisputable classic. 4 is 80%. That's great. So this is something special. It's somewhere between great and classic. Anyway, match number 20. The 2006 Royal Rumble match. Rey Mysterio Jr. goes from number 2 to the victory. Wins it all. Beautiful match. Tribute to Eddie Guerrero. What did you think of this one?
Honestly, to me, Eddie Guerrero is the pinnacle of wrestling.
The GOAT.
Like, he's the GOAT. No one's going to surpass him. He's had his demons, and he beat those demons.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yes.
He was the family man. He was a great wrestler. He was everything you want in a person and role model. And people always talk about the Latino community, but Eddie Guerrero brought that Latino community to watch wrestling, to watch SmackDown, to watch him and JBL, to watch him and Ray and Dominic on a pole match. Eddie Guerrero was just, like, even in his WCW days with the LWO, there was always that je ne sais quoi about him, right?
Exactly. He was just always had that charisma, that star power, that who's this guy? Like, oh, this guy's amazing. Like, yeah. Just that raw charisma. You can just feel how talented he was. And this was a perfect tribute to the man. Rey Mysterio, I believe to this day, has the record non-Saudi division for Royal Rumble longevity, as it were.
Yep.
Great wrestling match. Kudos to Rey Mysterio. God bless Eddie Guerrero. Match number 19. The Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels versus the racistly named Orient Express, Kato and Tanaka, Royal Rumble 1991. Classic AWA tag, the Bad Company of Paul Diamond, I believe it was, and Pat Tanaka. The Rockers and the Orient Express tear the fucking house down. This was an unbelievable Young Bucks style tag team match in 1991. But yeah, incredible, fast-paced, reminiscent of the AEW tag team division, reminiscent of the Young Bucks, Rockers versus Orient Express. Good stuff out in 1991.
Yep. All right. Let's keep going. We're getting up there.
Number 18. Sticking with these Rockers. The Rockers explode. They do, Boris. The Rockers explode at the Royal Rumble 1993. It's Marty Jannetty versus Shawn Michaels for the WWF Intercontinental title, number 18 on our list. Arguably the MVP of this match, Sensational Sherry.
Yeah.
Does a great job. This was an awesome angle where Marty Jannetty came back finally after a year of, where was he? Like, Shawn Michaels put him on the shelf, threw him through a window. Marty Jannetty finally comes back. He appears in the background of Shawn Michaels' mirror when he's doing his sexy boy entrance. They get into a schmoz. Eventually, the mirror accidentally gets broken over Sherry Martel's head and not Shawn Michaels'. Dear sweet Lord, good heavens, poor Sherry. But it sets up this blood feud must come to an end at the Royal Rumble 1993, which it definitely didn't. They kept wrestling for 6 months.
Yeah.
But a good match, and they would actually have better matches even than this.
Yeah.
You can't hate this one, though.
1992 to 1995, Shawn Michaels might be the best heel work in... I shouldn't say the best, but one of the better heel runs in WWE. It wasn't the best, but it was up there. And, you take a guy who was a part of a tag team, and he literally just rose to greatness. And what's really cool is you should read his comments about Sherry Martel and how he really credits Sherry Martel for getting him to that level.
Yeah, to help not only like teach him like little things about the business, but help him get out of his shell, help him like project the great personality that he had. Yeah, it's really interesting. Shawn Michaels, a treasure, a treat to this business. Great match. Speaking of Shawn Michaels and great matches and the Click and such things, here's a little selection for you, Boris. Number 17, Bret the Hitman Hart versus Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Royal Rumble 1995 WWF World Title.
Interesting choice.
A lot of fuckery in this match. It gets stopped and started a whole bunch, and Bret Hart works straight up heel. He's not even like hiding it a little bit. He's using a chair and blasting this guy in the knee. Very interesting match. But this is awesome, especially for a 1995 match featuring fucking Kevin Nash. Are you kidding me? This is as good as it possibly could have gotten. Bret Hart pulls out a masterpiece here.
Yeah. And this is like Diesel had basically just won the belt, right?
Yes.
He won it November 27th, 28th or something like that of the previous year. So we're literally a month and a bit into his run as the top dog.
Yeah.
So Bret Hart, he put everything he could into helping Diesel be that superstar. And the story just worked great because, you had Bob Backlund and Bret Hart in Survivor Series. Then you had Backlund, who lost the belt to Diesel immediately after beating Bret. So this is kind of like, who is the real champion now?
And yeah, exactly. And they set it up so that you wanted more. You didn't quite get you not at all got a good finish here. But yeah, you definitely got a satisfying match and you wanted to see more. So I thought this was really, really good. Bret Hart versus Diesel. Can't go wrong. Number 16, Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. No DQ. Chris Jericho suspended in a shark cage, Boris. Now, the shark cage gimmick, it's been used a number of times in the history of wrestling. I bet you this is the best shark cage match that ever happened in the history of the business.
Nope.
What's a better one?
Paul Ellering, NXT TakeOver Toronto, DIY, and, FTR.
Yeah, fair. Maybe.
But
I don't know.
This one was really high up there. Now, this is the thing about Kevin Owens' run. We were talking a lot about, shitbag heels who don't deserve the belt when we were talking about Shawn Michaels, right?
Yeah.
And this was a very similar run to the Shawn Michaels WWE heel run, where he cheated constantly to win the belt, or to keep the title.
Yeah. Cheated to win the title in the first place.
Yeah. Well, he was almost presented the title.
Exactly. Yeah.
But this is a great match. That chemistry between Jericho and Owens is unmatched. You cannot get that. You cannot replicate that. Jericho can try as hard as he wants with Guevara, with Sammy Hagar, with whom, or with,
JF,
Yeah.
And I did appreciate that they were like, they put Chris Jericho in a shark cage. Oh, we're not going to cheat. There will be no cheating. It's impossible to cheat. And then they're just like, we're just going to cheat to win this match.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Chris Jericho just dropped down a weapon to Kevin Owens and they win. Yeah,
yep.
I thought it was perfect in a lot of ways. Awesome match. And Kevin Owens takes 2 or 3 nasty bumps yet again. You know what Kevin Owens is, Boris? He's the new Mick Foley in a number of different facets. And the one way is that he tries to kill himself once a match.
Yeah. I agree, and I see that 100%. Like, yeah. We'll put a pin to this.
Yes.
Because I feel like this should be explored a little more.
All right. Perhaps we will get into it. Number 15. The Dudley Boys versus the Hardy Boys. Tag team tables match, Royal Rumble 2000.
Boys versus boys.
Boys will be boys with a Z. So this is a batshit crazy ladder match that doesn't have ladders. That's what this is. They kill each other. They do incredible, crazy spots. If this holds up as a spot fest today, in 2000, it was mind-blowing. Definitely something special. Something that has been replicated and duplicated. Possibly the greatest example of the balcony senton. Definitely something that you've seen 1,000 times replayed over and over. Great match.
Yeah.
All right, number 14. Chris Jericho versus The Rock for the unified WCW/WWF Championship Royal Rumble 2002. from Atlanta, Georgia. Lots of fuckery in this match.
Yep.
They do everything they possibly can to tell you that The Rock is the superior man, but Chris Jericho walked away with the title on this night. The Rock is the babyface, Chris Jericho is the heel. But yeah, this was awesome. Very, very entertaining. Both guys worked hard. They had a great chemistry, these two. They didn't really have bad matches together.
No, overall, I'm trying to remember and think about this, and yeah, overall they gelled so well. This is Jericho at his, Jericho is one of those guys, what he does outside of the ring, whatever.
Yeah.
But as a performer, as a wrestler, he's had so many different versions of himself, and I know this is repeated. I'm not saying anything new, but as a wrestler even, like you look at the various stages of Jericho, and this is like one of those stages where like he was a B+ player taking on A+ players and convincingly hanging out with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was elevating himself in front of our very eyes in this period. Absolutely, and this was an example of him showing that he belonged in the main event scene for sure. Boris.
Yep.
Good call. All right, number 13, lucky number 13. We're going to 2008 for the 2008 Royal Rumble match, MSG, called by Jerry Lawler, Jim Ross, Joey Styles, Jonathan Coachman, Michael Cole, and Taz for the first and I hope last 6-man booth in wrestling history, or at least WWE.
Wow.
Yeah, or there's probably been more in certain matches, I don't know. But yeah, this was a disgusting mosh on commentary, but a very good match made famous by the return of Roddy Piper and Jimmy Snuka. Incredible spot in Madison Square Garden. The fans went batshit. They didn't quite know what to make of Jimmy Snuka when he came out first, but then after Snuka, immediately the next entrant was Roddy Piper, and man, that crowd, when Roddy Piper's music hits and they know that it's Snuka's in the ring, do they ever go insane? That's one of the great pops in Royal Rumble history. And, of course, number 30, 2008, Juan Cena.
Yep.
Holding it down, doing it right.
I'll never forget watching the show live and hearing the reaction that Cena got. Because this is his return from almost, 8 months gone?
I think the big shock was that, I think it was in October he pulled his pec.
Yeah, He was supposed to be gone.
Exactly.
Like 8 to 12 months.
Yes.
But he made that shocking return in no time.
3 months or 4 months after he should have, and it was truly insane. Yes. So that was a great Royal Rumble, capped off by a great finish and worthy of our match. And here we go. The final match in the 4 1/4 tier, Boris. This is number 12. This is the last match that is just merely something special. And going forward, from this point, we will be going to another tier of indisputable classics. But this not quite an indisputable classic, still a match near and dear to my heart. The 2018 Royal Rumble Men's, won by Shinsuke Nakamura, with a great performance by Finn Balor. Some appearances, I think, by a lot of young wrestlers who are up and coming. And in a just world, this would have been a Royal Rumble that set up the future of the WWE. Unfortunately, nothing ever changes in this company.
I know I've given the internet wrestling community hell about creating stars. But here's a perfect example of you have two natural superstars in the making in Nakamura, in Balor, and other people, and they just sit on them. Like, what?
It's crazy. Shinsuke Nakamura is only now, for the first time in years, doing something again. Finn Balor, God bless him, I love Finn Balor's work, but he's killing it on the developmental brand in front of 650,000 viewers a week. Like, I don't understand why. I don't get it at all. 2018 could have been an even better match had they decided to capitalize on it at all. Very, very good regardless. And Boris, here we go. We're into pure classics at this point. 4.5 elimination matches, 90% A+ by the Canadian grading system. Indisputable classics.
Yep.
Here we go. Number 11, the 2001 Royal Rumble match, won by Stone Cold Steve Austin. Kane sets a then record elimination, a record of 12 eliminations, and Drew fucking Carey shows up.
Yep. I remember this.
Whose line is it anyway?
I remember this one really well.
This is a great match. There's some hardcore wrestling in here. There's a little bit of comedy. Everything you could possibly want out of wrestling. This was the Attitude Era wrapping up. It was wrapping up in front of our eyes. It ended in March of this year, and wrestling would never be this beautiful again.
Yep, pretty much.
Number 10. Oh man, speaking about when wrestling was beautiful, we're just gonna do these back and forth in a little pack. We're gonna call it the Murderer Pack. Number 10, Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle. Number 9, Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho in a ladder match. Both of these were indisputable classics at the time. Chris Benoit was beloved. Then he fucking murdered his family. God damn it. Boris?
I got nothing. Honestly, I got nothing. It's one of those things where I've talked well about Benoit.
Yeah.
You know my feelings about Benoit.
Yeah.
I stopped watching wrestling because of Benoit.
Hey, same.
So
Same.
let's keep going.
He was like literally one of my heroes.
And
It's
the
such
shitty
a
part
disgusting thing that happened.
Yeah, the shitty part is I feel horrible because it takes away from his opponent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the classics that he's had with people like Angle, Lesnar, Jericho.
Guerrero, yes, yeah.
You know, like you just forget about these matches.
And they're almost removed from the record. It's almost like taboo to talk about them. It's almost like they don't even count anymore. It sucks, man. It's not fair.
It's Taboo Tuesday
Man,
to talk about them.
Taboo Tuesday. I don't know why I ranked these matches like this. I should have just continued this, but okay. So number 8, Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan, Royal Rumble 2014. Awesome match. And this is really what the fans, it was almost the final straw for the fans. They watched this match and they were like, fuck, Daniel Bryan just had this match with this guy. Are you kidding me? I want this man to be world champion right now. He's our new Shawn Michaels. He's our new Bret Hart. Give this man the fucking belt. This was the last straw. And when Bryan did not win the 2014 Royal Rumble, all hell broke loose in professional wrestling, Boris.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt. Awesome match. Please watch it if you haven't seen it in a while. Number 7 and number 6, we're doing a little Royal Rumble pack. These are the bronze and silver medal Royal Rumbles of all time, in my opinion. Here we go. Number 7, the 2004 Royal Rumble, the bronze medal Royal Rumble. Should have been beautiful, should have been better than it was, but we know how the Chris Benoit story ends. But unfortunately, at this moment, this was a great moment to be a wrestling fan when Chris Benoit finally won, when he finally scaled the mountain, when it was finally clear that he was going to get a world title shot. It's so sad. Something else. Anyway, number 6, the 2020 Men's Royal Rumble. Did I overrate it? I don't know. Send all complaints, concerns, and comments to my butt at buttmail.us. Yes, go
Here's
on.
the thing about the 2020 Royal Rumble. They've had 32 iterations before this going into this match.
Yes.
This match gave us something new.
Fresh.
Something that we haven't seen.
Yes.
And probably something we won't see again.
And arguably shouldn't, but that's fine because we only needed it once. Yeah, absolutely. This was a unique presentation where Brock Lesnar, as dominant WWE champion, demands to enter the Royal Rumble first because he's going to fucking show everyone that he's the king. He's just going to beat everyone. And for the first 13 entrants, he does. He just throws these bitches out like they ain't nothing, Boris.
Yeah. And I did misspeak earlier when I said that there was that era where the champion could enter as a Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
But, this one was different.
It was a champion calling his shot. It was presented as a one-time thing, and I think it will be. But I love this match. Not only that, but it is instrumental in the career of Drew McIntyre. It is the match that elevated Drew McIntyre, and he is to this day arguably the only good babyface in WWE.
Drew McIntyre was the equivalent of Bobby Roode 3 years ago.
Yeah. He was on his level. He lost to Bobby Roode.
I only say that because of Dolph Ziggler. Like, he was Dolph Ziggler's laggy.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, sorry. Yeah, I said he lost to Bobby Roode. He lost the NXT title to Andrade.
Yeah.
It's why I screwed up my timeline. Continue.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that, they were able to build him into a star.
Yes.
The unfortunate thing there is the pandemic hit, so we don't know how popular he is. But you know, if there's a Hall of Fame award for getting us through a world pandemic, well, he's gonna get it.
Drew McIntyre is going to be another guy who, like, he's going to be much more appreciated once we get a little distance from what's going on right now, and we see how well he's done with all of these challenges put against him. Drew McIntyre has done a fantastic job as WWE champion, and this match was solely responsible for it. He wouldn't be here without this one. A very important, very good wrestling match. Number 6 all time in the Royal Rumble. And here we go, Boris. We've entered the top 5 finally. Got a drink going. I hope you've stuck with this, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening. We're rolling through quick. Number 5, Brock Lesnar versus John Cena versus Seth Rollins, WWE title. Royal Rumble 2015.
This match, we watched it together.
Yes.
Little did I know that, well, not little did I know, but one of the things that I needed to remind myself was this was supposed to be Cena, Lesnar, one-on-one. This is when the WWE was like, well, shit, we're hated so much, what do we do? Enter Seth Rollins.
Yep.
Best horrible decision they could have ever done, because this match was so freaking good. We watched this together a few weeks ago, and I was just like, we were both floored.
Yeah, we were just like yelling at the TV, like, oh, we both forgot how great this match was. It's awesome. It's a video game match. It's finisher, weapon, this and that, but it's spectacular. Great match. All 3 guys work hard. Worthy wrestling match, and by far the match of the night in 2015.
Yep.
Number 4, awesome wrestling match here. AJ Styles versus John Cena 2, the rematch from SummerSlam 2016. This is Royal Rumble 2017. San Antonio, Texas at the Alamo Dome. The king of the Royal Rumble, San Antonio. This match is notable for 2 reasons. One, AJ Styles and John Cena do not leave the wrestling ring. They have an incredible wrestling match, and they don't even hit the floor.
Yep.
Something I didn't realize.
This match is arguably John Cena's best match.
It's definitely high on the list. I would say you can think of a couple off the top of your head. I don't have this, spoiler alert, there's one coming up. But I think John Cena and Styles both do an incredible job here. Great match. I like it more than their SummerSlam match. Perfect real wrestling match. Second thing of note, John Cena ties Ric Flair for the unofficial WWE tallied record for world championships. By my count, Flair has at least 19 or 20, I think, but that's neither here nor there. All right.
And Pele has 1,000 more goals.
I love it. Holy fuck. Well, that's perfect. So, that was match number 4 in the history of the Royal Rumble, AJ Styles versus John Cena. Match number 3 in the history of the Royal Rumble, and the final match in our tier for classics. We're only going up from here. John Cena versus Umaga, last man standing, Royal Rumble 2007. A beautiful wrestling match, and arguably the last great moment of Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler's career together.
Yeah.
Arguably their last great call.
Yep. See, this match, for me, I was already a fan of Umaga, or as Regal would say, Umaga.
Umanga.
Yeah. But this match just propelled him into that level.
He could have been a WWE champion after this match. I would have believed it. If he would have won the title the next day, I would have not batted an eye. He was awesome. He was so good. He could sell too, and he can move fast. He was not. Umaga was an incredible wrestler. God bless his soul. He's a big loss.
Yep.
Yeah, this match was great. If you haven't seen it in a while, go back. I'm telling you, Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross bring the A game. Great performance. And here we go. The final 2, and we've entered our final tier. These are 5-star, 5 elimination, 100% perfect, legendary, beautiful, unfuckwithable wrestling matches. Boris, preach, buddy. Here we go.
And it's funny. I knew the 2.
Nah,
already.
You have to. Yeah, it's pretty clear. But in what order you'll rank them? You know what? Maybe it's different than me. I'd be willing to hear an argument that I should rank these differently. But this is how I have them at this moment. Number 2, Cactus Jack versus Triple H Street Fight, WWF title, Royal Rumble 2000 for Madison Square Garden. Triple H would not be here today if it wasn't for this match, period.
This is, unfortunately, the beginning of the end of Mick Foley.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
And unfortunately, the beginning of Triple H's Cody reign
Yes.
of anarchy
Yeah.
in WWE. But, all joking aside, this match was so fucking good. Not only was Mick Foley already legendary because of 98 King of the Ring, but I feel like this set of matches, like this match and the match they had the next month, just put Mick Foley into legendary status.
Into another stratosphere. And the whole transformation from Mankind to Cactus Jack was just some of the best stuff of the year, of an already great period of wrestling.
Yeah.
Classic.
This match, if we take a look at the story and the timeline, you have to remember that in 1999 SummerSlam, when Triple H was like really getting himself out there, it was Mick Foley who WWE went with, kind of officially in the storyline, to lead the company.
Yeah.
But Triple H, it's my time. That's when he really came out, and they had about an 8-month program before this, which was just capped with 2 perfect 5-star matches and an abysmal WrestleMania 2004 Corners match.
One of the worst WrestleMania events ever. But yes, this match is as good as professional wrestling can possibly be. It's a beautiful presentation. Please watch it. If you haven't seen it in a while, if you haven't seen it ever, please do yourself a favor. Watch this match. Cactus Jack versus Triple H. Only one time has the Royal Rumble been better, Boris. Only one time. And I think if you even bothered clicking on this, you probably knew where this list was going.
With a tear in my eye.
This is the greatest match in the history of the Royal Rumble 1992. Ric Flair goes from number 3 to win it all at the Knickerbocker Arena in Albany, New York. In New York, Ric Flair vanquishes all of his old rivals. He goes through No, he doesn't go through Butch Reed. Sorry, but he goes through Kerry Von Erich. He goes through Roddy Piper. He goes through some new rivals that he's going to run into, like Hulk Hogan and this big fucking goofball Sid, also the Macho Man Randy Savage. He's vanquishing people up and down the card, Greg Valentine. It's just, yeah. And the outsider comes into WWF. Nobody thought he would win, especially
the real world champion.
The real world champion. He came in September wearing a different company's belt, Boris.
Yep.
And he came into the Royal Rumble at number 3, and I'm sure I was only 5 years old at the time. I wasn't watching live, but I'm sure that everybody who saw that thought, oh, well, fuck, they fucked Flair. Oh, he's going to have a good match. He's going to stay in forever and get thrown out at the end. Whatever. And then when this man actually wins the match, and not only that, but the promo he cuts afterwards with Gene Okerlund, masterclass, 5-star, 10 out of 10, 100%. And not only that, but we haven't even mentioned, Boris, who's the MVP of this match. We haven't even mentioned
the commentator himself,
Bobby the Brain Heenan. This is the greatest performance by a commentator in wrestling history. Bobby the Brain Heenan gives his body and soul. He's sweating. You can hear the sweat pouring out of him. This is as good as professional wrestling gets. This 1-hour presentation is something to behold, Boris.
If you want a masterclass of how to bring someone into that next level, watch this match, because you get the full presentation, commentary, wrestling, camera work, production, referees, promos, crowd, every single thing about professional wrestling that makes professional wrestling worked out in this match. And this match alone created so many fans of pro wrestling. It's crazy. It's insane. This match took your real world's champion, your NWA champion, and turned him into the WWF superstar.
1,000%. And yeah, so the thing I love about this match is no matter where you are in your wrestling fandom, if you've never seen wrestling before in your life, or if you're a diehard fan who knows every feud that Ric Flair has, you can still appreciate how great this match is, because there's nuanced storytelling, but it's not so nuanced that you can't see it. It's just there are layers that you just you might not know, but the basic storyline of this man going bell to bell, fighting all these guys, showing everything he has. You want to, despite the fact that he's low blowing the Undertaker and he's the dirtiest player in the game, you can't help but cheer for this guy by the end of it. You can't help it.
There's a few things. Like, again, going back to Bobby Heenan, one of the famous calls I remember, and I forget who was in the ring at the time, but it was basically when he was begging, like, I'm sorry. Like, Bobby Heenan was just perfect in this match. You forget the fact that it was a very weird, overbooked ending for the time, with Hogan being a sore loser.
Yeah.
You know?
A terrible babyface.
Hogan is one of the worst baby faces in history.
Oh.
He used chairs. He cheated. He screwed people
Whined.
in matches. Yeah.
Cried. Yeah. Eliminated Sid Justice from the 1992 Royal Rumble.
Yeah, anyway, but you forget the fact that this had an overbooked ending for the era, and you just remember the performance that Ric Flair, Mr. Perfect, and Bobby Heenan gave into this night.
I would argue against overbooked as well. I would say heavily booked. They did a lot of things, but overbooked to me means bad. And I don't think it crossed the line of being bad. I think they had to set up a number of things, and they chose to set up a number of things, because I would have rather have seen Flair just wrestle Hogan at WrestleMania 8, because that's the biggest match they could have done. Neither here nor there. They chose to go Hogan versus Sid Vicious, and they set it up this way, and it was fucking amazing.
All right, there you go. 1992 Royal Rumble. I don't think it was much of a surprise as the list was going on. And in general, if you know anything about Royal Rumbles, anything about wrestling in general, you know that 1992 Royal Rumble is special to so many people.
Well, we're not here to do hot takes for the sake of hot takes, Boris. Let's just, tell the truth as we see it, as best as that we can represent it. And I thank you very much to anyone who stuck with this the entire way. I am your greatest fan. I appreciate it so much. And Boris, how you feeling right now, man?
I'm tired. Drinking some, what is this? Black cherry White Claw.
Quite a beverage. I got a mango White Claw going here.
You know what's sad? That I had to actually look at the label to see what I was drinking.
I sprung these White Claws upon you, and for that I apologize, my friend.
But I am grateful, because a drink is better than no drink, regardless. Kind of like wrestling.
Well, I could go without like a Mickey James versus Michelle McCool match, but by and large, I would say wrestling it's always fun.
Yeah, so again, thank you to our guests. Thank you, Zane66. Thank you, Mike Fenn. Check out their podcast. We'll put up all the info so that you can check them out. And I think we're going to bid everyone a farewell.
Also, before we go, thanks to Danny Granger Art for stopping by in part 1. And if you enjoyed this, feel free to reach out if you'd like to see something in the future. I don't think neither of us have the stamina to do WrestleMania or even anything else this year. I think we're going to lay low, but maybe we'll come up with another wild, crazy list gimmick to do in the future. And if you enjoyed any part of this or have any ideas, feel free to reach out.
Exactly, and there's many ways that you can reach out to us. You can reach out to us on all of the social medias, and by all, I mean Instagram and Twitter, and that's at NXT TLK Podcast. That's at NXT Talk Podcast. You can also email us, and that is show@NXTTLKpodcast.com. That's show@NXTTalkPodcast.com. So again, the lines are open. You can send us suggestions. You can send us matches. You can send us shows. You can let us know what you want us to review. If you like these types of reviews, these types of lists, let us know what's up, and we will try to get it out there for you.
Absolutely. As this world slowly opens up, we're going to hopefully be doing some more Toronto independent stuff and checking out some local shows and things like that. But until then, we're just kind of looking for ideas and trying to get some content out there. So, we're open to suggestions, and we really hope you enjoyed this one.
Yep. So if you're listening to us on the It's Canon podcast feed, make sure to check out Sunday night's main event. That's at SNME Radio on all the social medias. Make sure to check them out on Patreon. That's patreon.com/SNME Radio. You can find our regular show, NXT Talk, every Wednesday. Well, every Thursday morning it's up. We watch and record on Wednesday. Regardless, it's out on Thursday morning. But thank you, everybody. We are the Young Guns. He's Matt. I'm Boris. Goodbye.
Yeah. Thanks again for listening, guys.